Chapter 1251. Bang! 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 That extremely tyrannical mental energy was like a heavy punch, shattering all the walls of mental energy. Oh no, this mental energy is too tyrannical. The person who made a move was definitely a prime. Furthermore, it was the kind that specialized in mental energy. Otherwise, Xiao Chen would not have been so defenseless. Xiao Chen's mental energy had already condensed into magic energy. It was not something that an ordinary Emperor Wu could casually barge in. Unable to resist at all, the mental energy wall that Xiao Chen condensed crumbled like rotten wood, easily destroying it. I'll fight it out with you. Xiao Chen gave up on defending and gathered the last of his mental energy. His entire sea of consciousness surged. The surging magic energy also condensed into a fist light and punched out. At the crucial moment, just as the fist lights were about to clash, Xiao Chen's blue dragon martial spirit suddenly startled awake. It directly entered his sea of consciousness and attached itself to Xiao Chen's mental energy fist light. When the other party's mental energy fist light sensed the appearance of the blue dragon martial spirit, it was clearly stunned, pausing for a moment. When the other party saw Xiao Chen's azure fist light approaching, it retreated despite holding the absolute advantage. However, everything returned to normal. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. He felt dizzy and in incredible pain. Furthermore, this pain came from the soul. No matter how strong his physical body was, he could not resist it. Xiao Chen, what's wrong? Ao Jiao asked out of concern as she rushed over and supported Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and said, Emperor Forsaken personally made a move against me. Being a prime and cultivating mental energy, the range of people who could make a move against Xiao Chen immediately narrowed down. Aside from this person, no one else in the entire Kunlun realm could have such a strong mental energy. There was absolutely no one else with such a strong mental energy, able to kill someone from millions of kilometers away. Furthermore, by doing so, it would be hard to leave behind any evidence and give others something to use against him. This group of people is really desperate. They are too shameless. Ao Jiao said with distress. Xiao Chen comforted Ao Jiao with a smile, don't worry, after this failure, he won't dare to make a move again. Since a supreme being had failed once, he naturally did not have the face to make a second attempt. However, for some unknown reason, Xiao Chen still felt a shadow in his heart. Early the next morning, the Flame Rock Castle had already regained its peace and quiet. All the cultivators who were alarmed by Xiao Chen's comprehension had already left. The Flame Rock Sovereign frowned the moment he saw Xiao Chen. What's wrong? Given your physical body, you should have recovered from all your injuries by now. Why is your spirit still so weak? Xiao Chen could not hide anything from the Flame Rock Sovereign. So, he honestly recounted what happened the previous night. You guessed right. It should be Emperor Forsaken. I once interacted with several deity race Emperor Wu. They are all capable of this. The Flame Rock Sovereign confirmed Xiao Chen's guess. Then, he continued, someone must have spread the news of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea giving you the engraved medallion last night, driving this group of people into desperation. Xiao Chen's expression did not change much. He said calmly, Senior, please teach me how to cultivate primordial energy. The Flame Rock Sovereign was startled. He did not see any rage or hatred in Xiao Chen's eyes. Instead, Xiao Chen calmly stated his request. You are really able to keep your composure. If I were as young as you, I would have flown into a rage long ago. Who knows, I might even kill a few deity race cultivators to vent my anger. Xiao Chen smiled and asked, is there any use? The Flame Rock Sovereign was slightly stunned. Then, he said, indeed, there is no use. He is a prime who cleared a 9th heavenly lightning tribulation. What is the point of me doing all this? All I need to do is live properly. Live until I can deal a fatal blow to him and wash away my humiliation. I need to prevent him from messing up my plans. Xiao Chen's gaze was as calm as still water. However, if one peered through that deep water, one would see the hatred hidden in the depths. At the king conferral ceremony, Emperor Forsaken had tried to cripple Xiao Chen on the spot, showing no mercy at all. Xiao Chen remembered Dugu Ao's furious roars in the human-demon paradise like it was still fresh in his mind, something that he would never forget. At this point, the hatred between Xiao Chen and Emperor Forsaken could no longer be resolved. Hatred was hard to erase. Only killing could end it. What Xiao Chen needed to do was to continuously grow stronger, trampling on all his enemies on the Emperor's road. The Flame Rock Sovereign revealed a smile on his face. Since ancient times, no one's Emperor's road has been as arduous as yours. I look forward to the day you advance to Martial Emperor. When the lesson on cultivating primordial energy started, the Flame Rock Sovereign did not immediately teach Xiao Chen. Instead, he explained the primordial energy that the various martial emperors possessed. The cultivation of primordial energy is something that every Emperor Wu has to go through. Normally speaking, a first Heaven Emperor Wu can condense 100 strands of primordial energy, a second Heaven Emperor Wu can condense 200 strands of primordial energy, and a third Heaven Emperor Wu can condense 300 strands of primordial energy. Based on this, the number increases exponentially. At the 9th heaven, a sovereign martial emperor can condense 900 strands of primordial energy. With a rough comparison, one could tell that a sovereign Emperor Wu of the 9th heaven was 9 times stronger than a first heaven Emperor Wu. In reality, in a true battle, it would be more than 9 times stronger. Even 100 first heaven Emperor Wu would not be enough to kill a sovereign martial emperor. The difference between the two could no longer be made up for with numbers. With each lightning tribulation, the improvement that Emperor Wu received was not limited to just the physical body. Primordial energy would also undergo a transformation and experience a great leap forward. With such a comparison, Xiao Chen felt that his 10 strands of primordial energy were insufficient before a sovereign martial emperor. The Flame Rock Sovereign continued, "What do you think my purpose in telling you all this?" Clearly, the Flame Rock Sovereign would not waste time explaining something unimportant. It had to be closely related to Xiao Chen's cultivation. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen came to an answer. However, after being tricked by the Flame Rock Sovereign once, he was more cautious. Xiao Chen probed, "Senior's meaning should be to tell me why different levels of Emperor Wu can refine different amounts of primordial energy. The answer should be in the physical body. After that, Senior will give me some pointers based on the strength of my physical body, helping me cultivate to the limit of primordial energy that my physical body can endure." The Flame Rock Sovereign revealed a gratified smile. "It is really easy to deal with smart people." "That's right. This is the principle. The strength of your physical body has already reached the level of a first heaven Emperor Wu's golden body. That is enough to refine 100 strands of primordial energy." Fortunately, the Flame Rock Sovereign did not trick him this time. Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he had some questions that he wanted to ask. "Senior, many people did not cultivate their physical bodies before advancing to Martial Emperor. After advancing to Emperor Wu, they would also possess the golden body of Emperor Wu. In that case, wouldn't all the suffering that cultivators of the physical body like me suffered before advancing to Martial Emperor be for nothing?" Xiao Chen had personally experienced how painful the cultivation of the physical body was. If not for cultivating the physical body blindly and trying to stand out among those of the same cultivation realm, Xiao Chen would not have ended up in such a state, needing to advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years. Actually, this problem had troubled Xiao Chen for a long time, something he could not understand. The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled and said, "If you think that way, then you are gravely mistaken. Pay attention to what I said earlier. I added a phrase. Generally speaking." Xiao Chen was very sharp. The moment the Flame Rock Sovereign mentioned it, he immediately thought of the phrase. "That's right. However, there are some people who are different. I'm talking about you cultivators of the physical body. The heavens have always been fair. The more suffering one suffers, the more benefits one will obtain. Whether it is you cultivators of the physical body or other cultivators, this principle is the same. The Flame Rock Sovereign continued, after you advance to Emperor Wu, you will naturally understand this principle. For now, there is no need for you to consider this. Take out the primordial pills that I gave you. I'll teach you how to refine these medicinal pills. Don't I just need to swallow the medicinal pills? Could there be some other way to refine them? Xiao Qin could not understand, so he took out the primordial pills. The Flame Rock Sovereign received the bottle and laughed loudly. If you really swallow them, you will waste most of the medicinal energy in these primordial pills. What should I do? The Flame Rock Sovereign did not rush to explain. His expression uncharacteristically turned stern. I once told you that you will not learn any of the 3 techniques for free, as these are things that only Emperor Wu can learn in the first place. Cultivating as a consummation blue-robed emperor is going against the heavens. The suffering you will suffer is unavoidable. Even if you cultivate the sharp spirit finger according to my method, it will still be extraordinarily painful. What I want to say is that my cultivation of primordial energy is also boundlessly tyrannical and extremely dangerous, not to mention the pain. Xiao Qin said after some thought, Senior should understand my determination to comprehend the sharp spirit finger. As long as it can increase my strength, I am willing to accept any danger. Alright, bring me the saber. The Flame Rock Sovereign's face sank as he said something that confused everyone. Xiao Qin did as he was told. Without any hesitation, he took out a sharp short saber from the universe ring. Puchi. The Flame Rock Sovereign directly stabbed with his saber. In the hands of the Flame Rock Sovereign, Xiao Qian's half-step golden body was like paper. With one slash, a finger-sized hole appeared, and fresh blood gushed out. Don't let your wounds heal. With your great perfection blue-robed emperor cultivation base, if you want to obtain the primordial energy that only First Heaven Emperor Wu can cultivate, this is only the first step. The Flame Rock Sovereign said expressionlessly with a cold expression. Xiao Qin clenched his teeth, letting the blood flow freely as he endured the torturous pain. The Flame Rock Sovereign took out a primordial pill and flicked his finger, sending the medicinal pill into the cave. Xiao Qian's blood immediately greedily absorbed the primordial energy in the medicinal pill. This explosive energy instantly filled his body, giving him a sense of boundless power. The primordial energy in the primordial pill was several times more than what Xiao Qin absorbed when he opened the door of space and time. This was equivalent to 10 years of cultivation. Xiao Qin had not reached the level of the physical body of Emperor Wu's golden body. This explosive energy tested his physical body to the extreme. The Flame Rock Sovereign did not say anything. He stabbed the saber at Xiao Qian's chest again before putting in a second primordial pill. Third strike, fourth strike, fifth strike, after the Flame Rock Sovereign stabbed 9 times in a row, he stopped. Chapter 1252. Every stab was so bloody that no one could bear to look at it. After the 9th stab, Lin Fan's eyes widened. After the 9 stabs, 9 thumb-sized wounds surrounded Xiao Qian's heart, forming an average-sized circle. Dong! 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 Xiao Qian's heart pounded rhythmically. Every time it beat, his body absorbed a vast amount of primordial energy. Xiao Qian's physical body could explode at any moment. What was the meaning of playing with the heartbeat? Xiao Qian's current state vividly displayed this saying. Although Xiao Qian already did his best to absorb this primordial energy into his heart of an emperor, it was still far from enough. If the Flame Rock Sovereign did not take some measures, Xiao Qian would explode into pieces in a short while. There was still one last primordial pill in the jade bottle. However, the Flame Rock Sovereign did not use it. After closing the jade bottle, he quickly tapped Xiao Qian's chest with one hand. Light flickered on the tip of the Flame Rock Sovereign's finger. With every tap, a beam of light soared into the sky from Xiao Qian's body. After tapping 9 times, a miniature formation appeared on Xiao Qian's chest, slowly circulating. At the same time, a formation appeared under Xiao Qian's feet. Like the 9 beams of light, there was a formation in the air. This formation is called the 9 Revolution Universe Origin Formation. In the past, immortals used it to temper their immortal war body. After I obtained it, I made some changes to it. Firstly, it can maintain your physical body, preventing it from exploding from the primordial pill's medicinal energy. Secondly, it can amplify the medicinal energy. With every revolution of the 9-revolution universe origin formation, the primordial energy will increase by half. The Flame Rock Sovereign withdrew his hand, revealing a fatigued expression. This formation represents heaven, earth, and man. The 3 links are interconnected, and you cannot do without any of them. If you cannot endure the pain from the medicinal energy and give up halfway, the formation on your chest will be destroyed. The instant the formation loses balance, you will turn to ashes as well. Xiaochen smiled bitterly in his heart. The intense pain prevented him from speaking. If he could speak, he would definitely curse out loud. The Flame Rock Sovereign had forced him into a dead end. Xiaochen had not expected the Flame Rock Sovereign's cultivation method to be so dangerous. The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled faintly and said, "I'll go and drink first. Little friend, you have to do your best and hold on. Otherwise, this Flame Rock Castle that has been passed down for thousands of years will be destroyed along with you." The Flame Rock Sovereign forced a smile and quickly left, like he was dodging a human bomb. This angered Xiaochen to the point of wanting to rush out and kick the Flame Rock Sovereign. The Flame Rock Sovereign, who appeared to have left easily, had not actually gone far. He and Ao Jiao drank wine on a tall building. As long as the two turned their heads slightly, they would see Xiaochen seated cross-legged on the ground. "Xiao Ba, aren't you being too harsh on Xiaochen?" Ao Jiao said worriedly as she looked at the wound on Xiaochen's chest that had not healed yet and listened to his thumping heart. Xiaochen's skin had already split open. Blood seeped out and dyed his white robes scarlet from the inside out. Veins bulged on Xiaochen's forehead, and blood covered his face. Who knew what kind of pain he was enduring? The Flame Rock Sovereign said sullenly, "He has no choice but to be more ruthless. He is a consummation blue-robed emperor. If he wants to condense 100 strands of primordial energy, even if he has the primordial pill, the half-step golden body, and my 9-revolution universe origin formation, he will have to gamble with his life. The heaven-defying path is not dangerous at all, so it cannot be considered heaven-defying." Ao Jiao put down her wine cup and frowned slightly. "Please don't let anything happen to him. Dancing on the edge of a knife is really worrying." The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled and said, "Don't worry. Given his tenacity, he will be able to endure it. If it really surpasses what he cannot accomplish, I will not force him into a dead end." Ao Jiao smiled faintly and turned her head. "Xiao Ba, many thanks to you this time. Let me offer you a toast on behalf of Xiaochen." The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled embarrassedly and said, "Elder sister Ao Jiao, why are you being so polite with me? He inherited the treasures that the Thunder King left behind. Now that you asked me for help, how could I possibly reject? Without you and without the Thunder King, how could there be the current Flame Rock Sovereign? Furthermore, this little fellow is indeed a charming treasure. His potential has not been dug out yet. Perhaps I might have to seek guidance from him in the future." Xiaochen guessed that the Flame Rock Sovereign's willingness to teach him had a lot to do with Ao Jiao. However, he did not guess that Ao Jiao personally asked the Flame Rock Sovereign for his sake. After thinking about it carefully, one could understand. Without a deep connection, which sovereign martial emperor would teach an outsider their consummate technique that they did not pass on? Furthermore, they would waste 1 month to teach Xiaochen personally. No one in the world would be nice to you for no reason. The setting sun shone on the tall building, dyeing Ao Jiao's youthful face red. She put down her wine cup and looked at Xiaochen with a melancholic expression. She muttered to herself, "Little Ao Jiao, it is useless. I can only help you up to this point." Dong! Dong! 3 days later, Xiaochen's heartbeat finally slowed down. However, when it slowed down, the primordial energy it carried became even more vast and heavy. It was like an ancient divine bell, beating every time it beat, shocking everyone. Every time it beat, the entire Flame Rock Castle trembled. However, this time, the Flame Rock Sovereign had the foresight to lay a formation outside the castle, isolating all sound. Otherwise, with the sound of Xiao Chen's heartbeat resounding in the sky like a divine bell, it would definitely attract all the cultivators in Dark City. Up in the tall building, the Flame Rock Sovereign's expression relaxed. He said to Ao Jiao, his situation has already stabilized. Even if he gives up now, there will not be any danger of his body exploding. It all depends on how much he can obtain in the end. Joy flashed on Ao Jiao's face. What do you mean? The Flame Rock Sovereign explained, this 9-revolution universe origin formation relies on the cultivator's talent. In the most perfect situation, it can use 9 primordial pills to form 90 strands of primordial energy. Ao Jiao found it strange. She said, I know about the primordial pill. Although it is hard to refine and extremely rare in the Kunlun realm, it should not have such a horrifying effect, right? Even so, the medicinal effect shouldn't be so terrifying, right? A single pill can form a strand of primordial energy. The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled and said, Elder Sister Ao Jiao, you might not know about this. My 9-revolution universe origin formation is a formation passed down from the immortal epoch. It can amplify the medicinal energy. A skilled formation master can double the medicinal energy with each cycle. After layering it 9 times, it will reach an astronomical number. This is just a simplified version of the 9-revolution universe origin formation. It is not that horrifying. However, it can still increase the medicinal energy by 81 times. Do you still think I'm exaggerating? Ao Jiao said after some thought, 81 times, that is more than 700 primordial pills. Given that, it is indeed not an exaggeration. However, in the end, it still depends on his luck. If he is not determined enough, it would not be strange for him to condense only 10 strands of primordial energy, the Flame Rock Sovereign said after some thought. Ao Jiao asked, how much primordial energy do you think Xiao Chen can condense in the end? The Flame Rock Sovereign thought for a while before voicing his opinion. Right now, for every day he persists, he can obtain 10 strands of primordial energy. I estimate that he can persist for another 5 days and finally condense 60 strands of primordial energy. Ao Jiao said indifferently, I feel that he can persist for 9 days. Before he completely absorbs the medicinal energy, he will not stop. The Flame Rock Sovereign said, that's impossible. Could it be that he has experienced something even more painful than this? Ao Jiao smiled and did not say anything. Xiao Chen had indeed experienced it before. The lightning tribulation in the Sky Dome realm was much more painful than this. 5 days passed in a flash. The time that the Flame Rock Sovereign estimated for Xiao Chen was up. However, Xiao Chen still showed no signs of stopping. How did this fellow do it? The Flame Rock Sovereign exclaimed in shock. Under the triple formation of heaven, earth, and man, Xiao Chen's current aura was already so surging that it was terrifying. A faint emperor's might spread behind Xiao Chen, lingering for a long time, suppressing him layer by layer. The Flame Rock Sovereign's eyes lit up. Peering through the layers of light, he saw that Xiao Chen had already condensed 60 strands of primordial energy. Every strand of primordial energy was incredibly dense, like a true dragon. The vast and forceful primordial energy swam in Xiao Chen's heart of an emperor, roaring endlessly along with his heartbeat. This fellow actually didn't forget to refine the primordial energy while he was condensing it. The shock in the Flame Rock Sovereign's heart could not be described with words. Given this, when the medicinal pill finished absorbing the primordial energy, Xiao Chen would be able to completely control the primordial energy. The sun rose and set. Another 3 days passed. The emperor's might behind Xiao Chen piled up. It was already boundlessly heavy, nearly turning solid. The effects of the medicinal pill are over. It's time to open your eyes, right? The Flame Rock Sovereign muttered. When he saw the emperor's might behind Xiao Chen, the Flame Rock Sovereign sighed in his heart. He had personally created a miracle. The consummation blue-robed emperor had cultivated 100 strands of primordial energy. When Xiao Chen opened his eyes, it would be like a new Emperor Wu was born. Right after the Flame Rock Sovereign spoke, Xiaochen suddenly opened his eyes, and the accumulated Emperor's might behind him burst out. Bang! The Emperor's might, which had been suppressed for a long time, soared into the sky like a rainbow, instantly shattering the formation that the Flame Rock Sovereign laid. Then, it tore through the clouds and turned into colorful clouds spreading out, encasing the entire dark city. Colorful light spread out, and Emperor's might spread everywhere. The many cultivators in Dark City looked up, feeling shocked in their hearts. Which lucky person cleared the great tribulation of wind and fire and advanced to martial emperor? Only someone who had just advanced to Emperor Wu would appear, unable to control the emperor's might and causing colorful clouds to fill the sky. However, after thinking about it, they felt that this was impossible. The great tribulation of wind and fire caused such a huge commotion. How could there be no sign at all? All of this was something that only the 13 great bandits of Dark City were able to guess at. At the same time, they revealed smiles on their faces. They had not given the wrong engraved medallion back then. That person was worthy of their support. Inside the Flame Rock Castle, Xiaochen drifted over. He smiled and said, "Senior, I did not let you down. I successfully endured it." The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled and said, "Congratulations. However, I'm afraid that I cannot teach you the final technique." Feeling curious, Xiaochen asked, "Why?" The Flame Rock Sovereign said helplessly, "Originally, I was preparing to simulate a great tribulation of wind and fire to let you experience it in advance. However, you are growing too fast, far surpassing my expectations. I can no longer simulate your great tribulation of wind and fire. If I let you clear it easily, it will only mislead you. It will only mislead you and will not have any effect at all. Instead, it will be harmful." Chapter 1253. This stunned Xiaochen. This answer made him feel somewhat nervous. The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled and said, "During this period, go and pay a visit to the other great bandits. At the same time, stabilize your cultivation. After that, return to Heavenly Star Island. When the Dragon's Gate is unveiled, don't forget to send me an invitation." It looked like Ao Jiao had already told the Flame Rock Sovereign his plan. Being able to get the Flame Rock Sovereign to come and help establish the Dragon's Gate, Xiaochen felt more confident. Xiaochen performed a cupped fist salute and said, "I will never forget Senior's kindness." The Flame Rock Sovereign looked at Ao Jiao, who was drinking alone on the tall building. Then, he sighed softly, "Little friend, I'll say this very sincerely. Whether you repay this kindness or not, I do not mind. If you have the heart, take good care of Ao Jiao and investigate the cause of Big Brother Sang Mu's death. Right now, you have overwhelming luck. With the Thunder King standing behind you, there are some things that are much safer for you to do than for me." Xiaochen nodded and said, "Don't worry. Even if Senior did not mention this, I would do it." The process of visiting the 13 great bandits went smoothly. These sovereign martial emperors had already been convinced by Xiaochen's grace in the first place. After meeting and chatting, they felt even more satisfied. Xiaochen always held respect for senior experts and would not appear boundlessly arrogant. "If others respect me, I will respect them tenfold." This had always been Xiaochen's motto. After the visit ended, Xiaochen truly formed a connection with these great bandits. Since ancient times, only Xiaochen had managed to gain the friendship of these 13 great bandits at the same time. After dealing with the matter of the Black Sea, Xiaochen was eager to return, wishing that he could rush to Heavenly Star Island immediately. For flood dragons pulled the war chariot, rushing through the clouds at lightning-fast speed, heading for Heavenly Star Island. Actually, right now, Xiaochen's personal speed was even faster than the Flood Dragon war chariot. However, he did not have a strong physique like the Flood Dragons, able to maintain his speed without slowing down. In terms of long-distance travel, the Flood Dragon war chariot was more suitable. It would also be more efficient. Inside the war chariot, Xiaochen did not neglect his cultivation. Now, Xiaochen had 100 strands of primordial energy, a half-step golden body, and grasped the instant of glory, the 1,000-year hegemony establishment, and the subduing dragon profound slash, 3 medial grade profound martial techniques. Furthermore, he had practiced all of them to small perfection. What was even more frantic was his ultimate skill, the telepathic finger, which could instantly mobilize all his strength. If Shao Chen were to face Emperor Wu of the First Heaven with such strength, he would be able to fight against Emperor Wu of the First Heaven even without using the cycle banner. If Shao Chen used the cycle banner, he would be able to obtain victory easily. He would not have to put in as much effort as he did against Old Hong. As for Emperor Wu, who was at the second layer of heaven, Shao Chen still didn't know much about him, so it wasn't appropriate for him to make a judgment. However, if he wanted to retreat, the other party shouldn't be able to do anything to him. Right now, I still have 3 paths to raise my strength. The first is my peak will of thunder. The second is my 70% comprehended saber soul. The third is the breakthrough of the purple thunder divine incantation. Shao Chen analyzed calmly. None of the 3 paths was easy. The peak will of thunder required one to materialize the illusory before one could condense an innate thunder crystal. After raising the saber soul to 100% comprehension and forming his own saber domain, it would be as difficult as ascending to heaven. For the purple thunder divine incantation to break through to the 7th layer, Shao Chen would need to undergo another lightning tribulation before he could advance to the 8th layer. Clearly, these 3 paths could not be taken at the same time. They had to be done one at a time of priority. Along the way to Heavenly Star Island, aside from stabilizing his cultivation and absorbing primordial energy at a fixed time every day, Shao Chen pondered this problem. When he was only 3 days away from Heavenly Star Island, Shao Chen made his decision to raise his saber soul first. After all, in the end, he was a bladesman. Before advancing to Martial Emperor, he had to form his own saber domain. Now that Shao Chen's cultivation of his saber soul had reached the later stages, he could only rely on peak-grade demon fiend rocks if he wanted to speed it up. After he returned to Heavenly Star Island, he would ask the Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce to keep an eye on this. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. When Ao Jiao told Shao Chen that Heavenly Star Island was within sight, Shao Chen stopped cultivating and walked out of the chariot. Shao Chen's vision immediately widened. The familiar sea region appeared before him. He could see the silhouette of Heavenly Star Island with his naked eye. He could already see the closest subsidiary islands clearly. Now, Heavenly Star Island already controlled all the subsidiary islands in the sea region. No one else dared to interfere. Before Shao Chen left, he forced back the purple-clad Marquis, a greater heavenly Emperor Wu. This spread the fame of Heavenly Star Island throughout the Western Sea. Anyone who wanted to target Heavenly Star Island would have to weigh themselves first. Otherwise, they would not be able to get anything good out of it. As Shao Chen got closer, he could already see the buildings on Heavenly Star Island with his naked eye. The first thing that entered his eyes was a vast and majestic city. It looked like a huge true dragon coiled above the pirates. Hence, the existence of the city fixed the geomancy of the surroundings. All the luck gathered and encased Heavenly Star Island. Indistinct dragon chi could be seen moving in and out of the clouds above Heavenly Star Island. It looked extraordinary. Vaguely, this city had the air of a holy city. It was not much inferior to the Lunar Palace's Bright Moon City. The majestic city gates had the words, Heaven Dragon City, written on them. Armored guards stood on the city walls, all of them wearing the same uniform. Shao Chen looked carefully and saw that the uniform was the uniform of the deceased Dragon's Gate. However, it lacked the symbol of the Dragon's Gate. Mo Chen must have made it. As Shao Chen stood in the air and looked at this majestic city, he felt somewhat shocked. Unexpectedly, in a short 1 year, Mo Chen had helped him build up the city. She had built such a huge city on the rubble of that day's destruction. Mo Chen was an extraordinary girl who excelled in zither, chess, calligraphy, medicine, divination, refining, and brewing. She had truly helped him a lot. Halt. Without the azure robe token issued by the city lord's residence, you are not allowed to fly into the city. If you do not have it, I hope that the few of you will enter through the city gates. If you try to barge in, we will activate the protective formation. Just as Xiao Chen was about to fly down from the clouds and enter the city, the scene above the city gates made him frown slightly. A group of black-clad people wearing conical bamboo hats wanted to barge into the city walls and fly in. Xiao Chen knew that most holy cities had such a rule. If one was not an honored guest, one could not fly around the city. This was the case in Bright Moon City and Dark City, which Xiao Chen had been to before. These people knew that the Heaven Dragon City had such a rule, but they still dared to barge in. It was very likely that they were here to cause trouble. Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and looked over. As he expected, the leader of the group was a half-step Emperor Wu, and the people behind him were all blue-robed emperors of different cultivation realms. So powerful. Which force sent this team? Xiao Chen thought to himself. What a joke. We are from the West Ocean Dragon Palace. What rules do we have to follow in your little Heaven Dragon City? Get out of the way and don't block our way into the city. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. The black-clad old man in the lead sneered and took off his conical bamboo hat, revealing the unique fiery red dragon robe of the West Ocean Dragon Palace. The four people behind him also took off their conical bamboo hats at the same time to show their identities. So, that is the case. Xiao Chen now understood. Only the overlord of the Western Sea, the Western Sea Dragon Palace, could send such a strong team. The scene on the city walls immediately caused a commotion. Several cultivators lining up to enter the city stopped to watch. Interesting. This is the 8th time the Western Sea Dragon Palace has sent people to cause trouble. It can't be helped. Who asked Heavenly Star Island to develop too fast? The few large-scale auctions they held completely overshadowed the Western Sea Dragon Palace's limelight. Now, when people mention the Heavenly Starry Ocean or the Western Sea, the first place that comes to mind is Heavenly Star Island. The Western Sea Dragon Palace's reputation is completely suppressed. It is not just the auctions. The secret treasures, wine, and armor produced by Heavenly Star Island are all excellent. It would be hard for such a city not to prosper. The rise of Heavenly Star Island is clear for all to see. The Western Sea Dragon Palace is really desperate this time. To think that they are so direct in their suppression. I wonder how Heavenly Star City will deal with this. I heard that they endured the previous few times. The discussions at the city gates gave Xiao Chen a rough understanding of the situation. Xiao Chen did not show much surprise on his face. It was not strange for an old overlord to suppress a rising faction that could threaten him. But of all the things she shouldn't have done, she shouldn't have provoked him. The protective formation. Who are you trying to scare? If you really dare to activate it, it means that you are trying to start a war. At that time, I, the Western Sea Dragon King, will lead the 7 heroes of the dragon and flatten your Heavenly Star Island in minutes, the black-clad old man leading the group shouted coldly. The leading black-clad old man shouted coldly. This made the soldiers guarding the city feel very dissatisfied, but they could do nothing about it. Scram! Just an insignificant Heaven Dragon City, and you dare to put on such airs? Do you really think that you are a holy city? The black-clad man directly sent out a palm strike and knocked back the soldiers in front of him. These soldiers were only martial monarchs. The captain was only a martial sage. Without activating the protective formation, he was like an ant to this half-step Emperor Wu. How could the soldiers block such a sudden attack? They were severely injured and fell off the city. Seeing that the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's people actually made a move, the expressions of the people watching at the city gates all changed. These Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace elders were too overboard to attack the soldiers guarding the city. What status did these people have? They were Divine Dragon Palace elders, people with high authority. As for the soldiers guarding the city, they were just the lowest level people of Heavenly Star Island. You can't even withstand a single strike. With just this bit of strength, you dare to block our way? The black-clad old man smiled coldly. Then, He led the 4 people behind him, preparing to fly into the city. You are seeking death. However, just as the 4 were about to fly into the city, a furious shout suddenly resounded in the sky. Following that, 4 dragon roars rang out. A white-clad man holding the reins in his hand drove 4 deep-sea flood dragons on a war chariot, charging over with a surging aura. The instant the black-clad old man made a move, Xiao Chen's face sank. Unexpectedly, this group of people did not care about anything to this extent. Disregarding their status, they even attacked the city guards, minor characters who were only martial monarchs. This was intolerable. A murderous intent flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he drove the flood dragon war chariot forward. Chapter 1254. The strong aura made Xiao Chen, who was driving the war chariot, look as dignified as a celestial deity. Even the leader, the half-step Emperor Wu, felt somewhat stunned under this aura. Horror appeared in his heart. A flood dragon war chariot. He is the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen. He snatched this war chariot from the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master. When everyone saw the flood dragon war chariot, they immediately guessed Xiao Chen's identity. This was originally the symbol of the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master, Lin Xiaofan. Now, it became Xiao Chen's personal symbol. This was a great mockery of Lin Xiaofan. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's 5 people had not expected Xiao Chen's sudden appearance. They were somewhat stunned. Blue Dragon King. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen is back. However, the many guards on the city walls erupted in thunderous cheers. Back when the old city was destroyed, the scene of Xiao Chen charging out at the most dangerous moment and chopping the Buddha palm with his saber was still fresh in the minds of these guards. When that saber chopped the Buddha palm in half, boundless sunlight poured down and shone on that white figure. That scene was imprinted in the minds of the millions of people in the city. They would never forget it for the rest of their lives. Xiao Chen felt somewhat angry in his heart. He could roughly guess why this group of people was so fearless. Naturally, the peak of Heavenly Star Island's combat prowess was Lan Xiaobai and Lan Tianji's master, the Life Reaper Azura Lan Qiaofeng, a peak greater Heavenly Emperor Wu. However, Lan Qiaofeng could only rely on Lan Xiaobai, Elder Qin, Mo Chen, and the other blue-robed emperors. These people were not a match for the half-step Emperor Wu. However, if Lan Qiaofeng made a move to deal with this half-step Emperor Wu, he would definitely give the Western Sea Divine Dragon King a chance to make a move. At that time, when Heavenly Star Island came over to denounce Lan Qiaofeng for not knowing the rules and making a move on a junior, it would become Heavenly Star Island being unreasonable. The Great Emperor also had his own rules. If he made a move against someone below Emperor Wu, he would indeed be a laughing stock in the circle. However, if Lan Qiaofeng did not make a move, no one would be able to restrain this group of people. Hence, the other party repeatedly came to cause trouble, continuously suppressing the newly built Heaven Dragon City. Mo Chen and the others could only endure. If the matter blew up, Heavenly Star Island would be the one to suffer. Not to mention the Western Sea Dragon King's strength as a sovereign martial emperor, there was also the 7 heroes of the dragon. Right now, Heavenly Star Island was no match for this faction that had existed for more than 10,000 years. In the end, he was still lacking some foundation, and he couldn't accomplish it in one go. However, no matter what, a dignified half-step Emperor Wu had attacked a martial emperor. Xiao Chen couldn't bear it. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace truly lives up to being an old subordinate of Neptune. Tell me your name. As Xiao Chen stood on the dragon chariot, he held the reins with one hand and placed the other behind his back. He looked coldly at the black-clad old man who made a move. The black-clad old man felt an inexplicable horror in his heart. Before Xiao Chen's aura, he actually felt timid. What's going on? Although my improvement in the past year is horrifying, reaching consummation blue-robed emperor, I am a half-step Emperor Wu. However, I am a half-step martial emperor. How can I cower before him, not even daring to look him in the eye? Sweat appeared on the black-clad old man's forehead. Why did such a situation happen? He could not figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. Under the pressure of Xiao Chen's strong aura, the black-clad old man could not help saying his name. This old man's family name is Lu Yuanhe. I am an inner court elder of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace. The moment the black-clad old man said this, he regretted it. I am a half-step Emperor Wu. Why do I have to listen to a consummation blue-robed emperor? However, just as the black-clad old man wanted to say something, Xiao Chen's words stopped him. If you apologize now, I will give the Western Sea Dragon King some face and pretend that nothing happened. When Lu Yuanhe heard this, he became enraged. What a joke! You want me, a half-step Emperor Wu, to apologize to a martial monarch? Did a donkey kick you in the head, Blue Dragon King? After snatching the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's Flood Dragon War Chariot, you still dare to use it so openly. You are the only one in the younger generation who can be so arrogant. Earlier, Xiao Chen's aura was too strong. Lu Yuanhe was stunned for a moment. Now, he used the anger in his heart to pull back his aura and rebuked Xiao Chen. The one who should apologize is you, you inexperienced brat. If you beg me now, I can put in a good word for you in front of the Eastern Sea Dragon King. That way, you will not die too badly. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with Lu Yuanhe's nonsense. He said indifferently, I'll say it one last time. Are you going to apologize or not? The many cultivators at the city gates could not understand. Xiao Chen was a consummation blue-robed emperor. Why was he so domineering when facing the half-step Emperor Wu? Why did he keep demanding an apology? Where did he get the courage to do so? Not going to say anything. In that case, I'll take it that you have given up. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance and attacking too ruthlessly. After saying this casually, Xiao Chen's figure flashed. He executed Thunder Dragon steps and soared into the air. How arrogant! I did not attack you, but you actually dared to attack me first. Lu Yuanhe's lips curled up in a cold smile. Xiao Chen came at the right time. He absolutely could not miss out on this opportunity that delivered itself to his doorstep. Defeating Xiao Chen was better than causing a ruckus in Heaven Dragon City 100 times. It would be sufficient to plunge Heaven Dragon City's reputation to rock bottom. However, right after Lu Yuanhe spoke, he could not bring himself to laugh. This was because Xiao Chen, who had been in his vision a moment ago, suddenly vanished. What's going on? Elder Lu, behind. He is behind you. Lu Yuanhe's companions warned him anxiously. No one expected Xiao Chen to be so fast. Trying to sneak attack me? You are seeking death. A horrifying aura surged out of Lu Yuanhe's body as he shouted. Then, he turned around and punched. The force of this punch was so great that space buzzed. The ground at the city gates trembled slightly. However, Lu Yuanhe's punch hit nothing but air. Before Lu Yuanhe could even see Xiao Chen's figure, Lu Yuanhe received a slap to the face, knocking him into the air. When Lu Yuanhe stabilized himself, he rubbed his face and looked forward. However, he still did not see Xiao Chen's figure. Lu Yuanhe's expression changed wildly. With a speed like a peal of thunder, he turned around and spoke. Pa! An even more resounding slap landed on Lu Yuanhe's face. His body flew back at an even faster speed, but he still did not see Xiao Chen's figure. Lu Yuanhe's heart was filled with horror. He pushed off the air with the tip of his foot and quickly spun forward. In that instant, a strong wind blew. With every spin, Lu Yuanhe brought with him a vast amount of the power of the world. The two slaps made Lu Yuanhe somewhat dizzy. Right now, he could not think of anything other than catching sight of Xiao Chen's figure. Pa! However, as Lu Yuanhe spun around at high speed, a finger mark appeared on his face in the 1,000th of a second, and he spun around. When Lu Yuanhe stopped, he still did not see Xiao Chen's figure, not even a shadow. Elder Lu, behind. Behind. Is he behind me? I don't believe that I can't even see your figure. Lu Yuanhe felt very sullen in his heart. However, he did not dare to turn around and attack. Instead, he turned into a flash of light, flying forward at lightning speed before turning around again. Pa! 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 The sound of slaps filled the air. As long as Lu Yuanhe turned around, he would receive a resounding slap. No matter what he did, no matter how fast he sped up, as long as he turned around, he would receive a slap. Unfortunately, Xiaoqin was right behind him. Everyone could see him except for Lu Yuanhe. As long as he turned around, he would receive a slap. This comical scene caused all the guards at the city gates and the other cultivators to roar with laughter. Their laughter was incredibly piercing. Even the 4 people who came with Lu Yuanhe felt their faces burning. This time, they had truly lost a lot of face. After getting slapped, Lu Yuanhe still looked like a fool, searching for the person who slapped him. To think that this fellow would have such a day. The Blue Dragon King truly lives up to his reputation as the Blue Dragon King. Every time that old fellow comes, he flaunts his might. However, no one can do anything to him. I've been suppressing this frustration for a long time. If Miss Mo Chin says that she does not intend to use the protective formation, does he really think that he can stir up any waves in Heaven Dragon City? When the guards in the city saw this scene, they all felt their frustrations vented. When Mo Chen and the others received the news, they rushed over. Originally, they were worried about Xiaoqin. However, when they saw this scene, their lips curled up involuntarily in smiles. Ha ha ha! Blue Dragon King, I see you. I see you. Lu Yuanhe, who had been slapped several thousand times in the air, finally saw Xiaoqian's figure the moment he turned around again. Xiaoqin laughed maniacally. His tone actually contained some joy. He was like a child anxiously searching for something. After finding it, he felt a sincere satisfaction. However, the spectators who saw this clearly knew that Xiaoqin had not moved at all this time, purposely letting Lu Yuanhe see him. They all felt a trace of sorrow in their hearts. It's over. Lu Yuanhe really got slapped silly. His face is already swollen like a pig's head, yet he can still laugh so happily. Why are you so happy? I just got tired of slapping you with my back to you. Xiaoqin narrowed his eyes. His delicate and handsome face looked very nice when he smiled. However, to others, this smile was scarily cold, like that of a demon. The resounding slap rang out again. This slap sent Lu Yuanhe flying to the ground. The other party simply could not see the speed of Xiaoqian's attack at all. Before Xiaoqian, this Lu Yuanhe was like a clown, only able to be toyed with. After Lu Yuanhe landed on the ground, his mind was still somewhat muddled. He kept saying, I see you. I see you. The other 4 blue-robed emperors of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace felt their faces burning. Their half-step emperor Wu got slapped silly. In the entire history of the Heavenly Starry Ocean, Lu Yuanhe was probably the first person to get slapped silly. Unfortunately, this first was not a glorious first. Quickly, carry Elder Lu away. This time, we embarrassed ourselves greatly. I wonder how the Vice Palace Masters will deal with us. The 4 blue-robed emperors wished that they could find a hole to hide in. How could they dare to linger? They quickly carried Lu Yuanhe far away like the wind. In the air, Xiaoqin stood upright with his hands behind his back. As he watched this group of people leave, he did not stop them. Although Xiaoqin was proud and hated evil, he was not a fool. Right now, Heavenly Star Island was not a match for the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace. There was no need to be too ruthless. By toying with this Lu Yuanhe today, Xiaoqin had already regained Heavenly Star Island's lost reputation. He had also helped the guards that Lu Yuanhe hurt vent their anger. That was enough. Chapter 1255. Blue Dragon King. Seeing the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's people flee, all the guards on the city walls cheered. The tyrannical air of kingship that Xiaoqin exuded slowly settled. When Xiaoqin looked back, he saw Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai. They exchanged looks and smiled, understanding each other without saying anything. The Flood Dragon War Chariot carried Xiao Qin away. Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai waved their hands to get the others to move back. Then, they leaped onto the war chariot. Big brother Xiao Qin, did you succeed? Mo Chen asked anxiously. Lan Xiaobai also had a look of anticipation in his eyes. Both of them knew that Xiao Qin had left Heavenly Star Island in search of a way to quickly advance to consummation Blue-Robed Emperor. Given that Xiao Qin could even toy with the half-step Emperor Wu, he must have found a way. Xiao Qin nodded and gave a simple explanation of his experiences. Then, he said, this time, not only did I advance to consummation Blue-Robed Emperor, but I also condensed a heart of an emperor and can cultivate primordial energy. After the two of them received a definite answer, a sincere smile appeared on their faces, brimming with a strong sense of joy. Lan Xiaobai guffawed and said, it looks like the city lord's residence will be holding a grand banquet tonight. We will not return until we are drunk. Xiao Qin replied. Then, he asked about the ins and outs of the matter at the city gates. What exactly was going on? Lan Xiaobai hesitated for a while before saying, Mo Chen, you tell him. This is your decision as well. Xiao Qin looked over doubtfully. Could there be more to this? Mo Chen nodded and said, I used the manpower of the entire Heavenly Star Island and some of the secret techniques in the Book of Heavenly Works to complete the general outline of Heaven Dragon City half a year ago. At the same time, the winery on the island and the refining mountain manor on Black Flame Island started operating as well. As you know, we have the Dragon's Gate Treasure Trove and the Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce. We have all sorts of peak ores and rare materials. As soon as the city was built, it quickly became operational. In less than a month, it became the commercial center of the Western Sea. DeBeo and I worked together to take out a few treasures from the Dragon's Gate's treasure trove and hold an auction at regular intervals. The flow of people in Heaven Dragon City immediately increased, completely surpassing that of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's Sea Dragon City. The various merchant associations of the Heavenly Starry Ocean are also fighting to establish themselves in Heaven Dragon City, bringing in a lot of tax revenue. Xiao Qin was slightly speechless. The Heaven Dragon City was like a behemoth. Once it was in operation, the speed at which it rose was unbelievable. Mo Chen continued, the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace became envious of the huge benefits. 3 months ago, their young master brought people over, wanting to work with us. Xiao Qin raised his eyebrows and asked, work together? What kind of cooperation? Mo Chen shook her head and said, although they said it was a cooperation, it was essentially banditry. They said that the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace would provide security for Heaven Dragon City and then take 50% of our profits every year. Xiao Qin smiled and said, this plan is really good. Since when did we need their protection? Naturally, there was no need to elaborate on what happened after that, it was easy to guess. Naturally, Mo Chen could not agree to such a cooperation. Hence, the other party kept sending people to cause trouble. Mo Chen sized up the situation. Before Xiao Qin returned, she chose to endure and not do anything. Hence, the scene that Xiao Qin saw at the city gates happened. Lan Xiaobai added, the more despicable thing is that the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young master spoke arrogantly. Back then, he even wanted to remove Mo Chen's veil. If not for Master appearing and scaring him away, the consequences would have been hard to imagine. There was such a thing. Xiao Qin felt some rage in his heart as he looked at Mo Chen. Mo Chen smiled calmly and said, it's fine. He can't get close to me. My cultivation has not fallen behind in the past year. Xiao Qin looked carefully and discovered that it was not just Mo Chen. Even Lan Xiaobai's cultivation had improved significantly in the past year, both advancing to great perfection Blue-Robed Emperor. Mo Chen had the Book of Heavenly Works, the cornerstone treasure of an ancient sect. It was perfectly compatible with her, so it was not strange for her to have such improvements. The strange thing was Lan Xiaobai. Although Lan Xiaobai had excellent talent and had the support of the Dragon's Gate treasure, Heavenly Star Island was not an excellent experiential training ground like the astral battlefield, after all. How could he have made such improvements? Mo Chen noticed Xiao Chen's doubts. She said, I know what you are wondering. The answer lies in the Dragon's Gate's mountain rock that you brought from Bright Moon City. Lan Xiaobai said, only now do I know that the Dragon's Gate's mountain rock made from heaven-subduing rock not only has the effect of gathering luck for the sect but is also an excellent experiential training ground. There are many Dragon's Gate's heroic spirits there. Yu Chenxi, and the others are all cultivating there. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. Back then, when he first saw the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, he had indeed seen an illusion. However, he did not expect that the illusion had other mysteries and could be used for cultivation. In the 1 year that Xiao Chen was gone, the changes that happened to Heavenly Star Island caught him off guard, a pleasant surprise that was too unexpected. However, Xiao Chen could not let his joy go blind. He had to think of a way to deal with the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace. What do the two of you think about the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace? Xiao Chen asked. At the mention of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace, the smiles on Mo Chen's and Lan Xiaobai's faces slowly vanished. Worry flashed on their faces. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace had deep accumulations. The Western Sea Dragon King was a sovereign martial emperor, and the 2 vice palace masters were as strong as Emperor Wu. Furthermore, the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace could summon the various marquises at any time. Simply put, this was a huge faction. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace had dominated the Western Sea for more than 10,000 years. If they were not angry, they could flatten Heavenly Star Island. Mo Chen said, Heavenly Star Island still has the Bushin Palace behind it. The Western Sea Dragon King does not dare to make a move. I'm just afraid that he will play some tricks, sending people to harass us. After all, Senior Lan cannot make a move casually. Lan Xiaobai said, we do not have to worry about this right now. With Xiao Chen around, if they dare to send people to harass us, they will just be seeking their own humiliation. As Xiao Chen listened to the two, he realized that they were both very smart people. However, they could not think of any good ideas at this moment. The reason was none other than accumulations. Heavenly Star Island's accumulations were far inferior to that of a veteran overlord like the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace. Big Brother Xiao, you already have a countermeasure in mind? Mo Chen was very intelligent. When she saw Xiao Chen's expression, she could tell that something was amiss. Lan Xiaobai looked over curiously. Xiao Chen just returned, and he already had a countermeasure. This was too inconceivable. Xiao Chen nodded and said, I do indeed have a countermeasure. Actually, when I returned, I already thought about it. I can deal with the tough bone that is the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace and let the Western Sea Dragon King know that Heavenly Star Island is not as simple as it looks on the surface. What countermeasure? Xiao Chen's tone was calm as he slowly said, announce to the world that the Dragon's Gate will be re-established. When Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai heard this, they sucked in a breath of cold air. They had not expected Xiao Chen's countermeasure to be so shocking. Although they knew that Xiao Chen's future goal was to use Heavenly Star Island as the foundation to rebuild the Dragon's Gate, they did not dare to do so. However, Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai had not expected it to happen so early. This was truly unexpected. Isn't it a bit too early? Lan Xiaobai asked. Mo Chen did not say anything, but she clearly had the same question. Right now, Heavenly Star Island's accumulations were far from sufficient. During the time that Xiao Chen was away, Lan Xiaobai and Mo Chen could be considered the true decision-makers of Heavenly Star Island. There was no need for Xiao Chen to hide his thoughts from them. After organizing his thoughts, Xiao Chen said, actually, compared to those holy lands, no matter how much Heavenly Star Island develops, we will not be able to reach their accumulations within 100 years. It doesn't matter if we announce it earlier or later. It doesn't matter. Since that is the case, why not announce it earlier? Erecting the Dragon's Gate signboard would definitely speed up Heavenly Star Island's development. When the two heard this, they were stunned. They had not thought of this problem. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed like it was as Xiao Chen said. Xiao Chen continued, I am a descendant of the Qing Emperor in the first place. Furthermore, I am the Blue Dragon King personally appointed by the Thunder King. I possess the Blue Dragon martial spirit. It is perfectly justifiable for me to erect the Dragon's Gate's signboard. I have to stand upright and be open and aboveboard. There is no need to have too many misgivings. Lan Xiaobai looked at the determination and stubbornness in Xiao Chen's eyes. Then, he smiled and said, I am fine with it. From the moment you agreed to let me accompany the Haotian sect, I already made my choice. No matter what you decide, I will support you. The Tsing Lung scheme is your legend in the first place. I will continue to write it down. I also look forward to the martial Dao convention you promised me. Under the veil, Mo Chen smiled faintly and said, I never object to the things you have decided. Upon hearing the two's words, Xiao Chen felt warmth in his heart. Then, he solemnly thanked Mo Chen. Lan Xiaobai smiled and said, erecting a signboard might seem easy, but there are too many things to consider. Let's put this matter aside for now. You just returned to Heaven Dragon City today. Let Mo Chen bring you around the city. Lan Xiaobai got out of the chariot. He had to be thinking carefully about how Xiao Chen should proceed with his decision. Xiao Chen recalled the first time he met Lan Xiaobai. The other party's arrogance was still fresh in his mind. Even now, Xiao Chen was somewhat curious about it. Back then, when Lan Xiaobai went to the oceanic world, what kind of blow did he suffer that made him lose the idea of writing the Tsing Lung scheme by himself? Put away the war chariot. I'll bring you around Heaven Dragon City. Mo Chen's words pulled Xiao Chen back to reality. He smiled faintly and put away the Flood Dragon war chariot. Then, he followed Mo Chen and strolled around Heaven Dragon City. The streets and alleys were filled with people. The entire Heaven Dragon City was dozens of times more lively than before it was destroyed. Only by walking around could one feel such a change. Occasionally, the patrolling guards would greet the two respectfully when they saw them. After Mo Chen brought Xiao Chen around the bustling business district, she led Xiao Chen to the unique Heaven Dragon dueling ground. Every detail of the dueling ground was modeled after the Dragon's Gate's ancient city. Several things had already lost their inheritance. Being able to reappear in Heaven Dragon City was very attractive to some cultivators. For example, there were walls with the Dragon's Gate's sages carved on them. As long as one cleared a few stages, one could personally touch them and feel the martial techniques the sages left on the walls. There were many such things. As Xiao Chen walked around, he discovered that several experts of the heavenly starry ocean chose to set up camp here. There were even half-step Emperor Wu who opened a dojo and built his own dueling ground. Chapter 1256. Mo Chen explained, clearly, we cannot focus on every aspect of the construction of a city. After the general outline was done, I contacted the various merchant associations of the heavenly starry ocean and got them to participate. This is a major reason why Heaven Dragon City is so prosperous now. Mo Chen's explanation was a great eye-opener for Xiao Chen. Her insight and horizons completely surpassed Xiao Chen's in this aspect. If Xiao Chen were in charge of the construction of Heaven Dragon City, he definitely would not have thought so far ahead. As Xiao Chen looked at the bustling Heaven Dragon City in the plaza in the middle of the city, he felt extremely moved. When Xiao Chen first met Mo Chen in the Cloud Sea domain, he probably could not have imagined that such a girl would personally help him build a city that would revive the Dragon's Gate. To Xiao Chen, reviving the Dragon's Gate was actually something he could do. What Xiao Chen excelled at was the cultivation of the martial Dao. If not for Lan Xiaobai and Mo Chen, he would not even know how to revive the Dragon's Gate. As for the future of the Dragon's Gate, Xiao Chen did not have much thought or ambition. Re-establishing the Dragon's Gate was out of a sense of responsibility as a descendant of the Qing Emperor. However, if Xiao Chen wanted to be like the Qing Emperor back then, leading the Dragon's Gate to rule the entire Kunlun realm, he would not be interested. Xiao Chen's pursuit was the supreme martial Dao, to break through to the peak. The tragedy of the Dragon's Gate's destruction in the past also told him that he could not go overboard with some things. The Qing Emperor looked like he swept through the world, unrivaled. However, there was a fact that could not be ignored. The Dragon's Gate was destroyed at the hands of the Qing Emperor. What Xiaochen hoped for was a healthy Dragon's Gate, one that could continue the inheritance of the Dragon's Gate's sect masters. Even if Xiaochen died one day, the spirit of the Dragon's Gate could continue on, never to be extinguished. However, this seemingly simple desire was filled with variables. The factions that feared the Dragon's Gate were not willing to see the words Dragon's Gate reappear in the world. This time, Xiaochen wanted to make his stance known to the world. Xiaochen was a descendant of the Qing Emperor. The Xiao clan's bloodline flowed in his veins. He was duty-bound to rebuild the Dragon's Gate. Why did he have to act like a thief and hide? It was not like he was doing something shameful. As Mo Chen watched Xiaochen stroll around the plaza in a daze, she understood his pain. Too many factions in the Kunlun realm feared the words, Dragon's Gate. No matter how simple Xiaochen's wish was, in the eyes of these people, they absolutely could not let Xiaochen fulfill it. When Xiaochen made the decision to announce the rebuilding of the Dragon's Gate to the world, the one under the most pressure would definitely be Xiaochen. When the news spread, it would definitely shake up the entire Kunlun realm. On that day, the insignificant Heavenly Star Island might not be able to withstand such pressure. Xiaochen had obviously considered all of this, but he still made this decision without any hesitation. Big brother Xiaochen, what are you thinking about? Mo Chen laughed, interrupting Xiaochen's thoughts. Xiaochen recovered his wits and smiled. He did not give a direct answer. He opened his palm, and a flower appeared. It was the dragon blood flowers that he found in the dragon grave. There is nothing to thank you for. These are dragon blood flowers that I found in an 8-star dragon grave. Take them. Under the veil, Mo Chen revealed a joyful smile. She cupped her hands together and accepted the flowers. The flowers drifted down from Xiaochen's hands and piled up in Mo Chen's hands. Hee hee. The dragon blood flower is an extremely rare existence. If I bring these flowers to the auction of the Heaven Dragon in the lower realm, they will definitely cause a huge commotion, Mo Chen said with a smile. Xiaochen stopped what he was doing and said, it's best if you don't. Keep them for yourself. I still have other treasures that can be placed in the auction. These are my gifts to you. Mo Chen nodded and carefully put away the dragon blood flowers. Whatever you say. Come, I'll bring you to the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. That place has already become a forbidden land of Heavenly Star Island. Xiaochen was very curious about the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet as well. He really wanted to take a look. What exactly was inside the mountain tablet that allowed Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai to improve so much? Through Mo Chen's conversation, Xiaochen learned that Lan Xiaobai had accidentally touched this mountain tablet and discovered its mysteries. After entering, he found himself in an ancient battlefield. After killing his way out of the battlefield and arriving in the real world, he was shocked to discover that the martial techniques that he practiced in the illusion could be used in the real world. However, at this moment, only an instant had passed in the real world. After hearing Mo Chen's explanation, Xiaochen could not help but feel even more interested. To think that the things that he learned in the illusion could be used in the real world. Furthermore, no matter how much time passed in the illusion, it was just the blink of an eye in the real world. To cultivators whose time was precious, this was simply a great killing tool. After a while, the two left Heaven Dragon City and arrived at the foot of the tallest peak of Heavenly Star Island. This peak towered into the clouds. Spiritual energy lingered around it, and it was lush and green. Xiaochen had chosen this peak to be the Dragon's Gate's summit long ago. There were many talented children on the mountain who received the teachings of Yu, Jin Lin, Lu Ku, and the others. They were the future of the Dragon's Gate. This was the Dragon's Gate's summit in the first place. Furthermore, the existence of the mountain tablet made this place even more important. Hence, the masters of Lan Xiaobai and Lan Tianji personally oversaw this place. To prevent information from leaking out, aside from a few trustworthy people, the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet was not given to anyone else. Halfway up the mountain, Xiaochen saw this Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet in a secluded and quiet place. Shao Qian had chosen the location of the mountain tablet himself. The mountain tablet was made of heaven-subduing rock. When placed at a suitable location, it could guard luck and gather the surrounding geomancy. The Qing Emperor had written the words, Dragon's Gate, on the mountain tablet. Every stroke of the two ancient words was like a powerful bladesman brandishing a treasure saber, clean and efficient, boundlessly free and at ease. Near the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, Shao Qian saw two people seated cross-legged with their eyes closed. Their expressions changed continuously as if they were in some kind of illusion. Gong Yangyu and Xianyuan Zhantian. Shao Qian raised his eyebrows. Why are these two old friends from the Sky Dome realm here? Mo Qian explained, Heaven Dragon City has recently become famous. Furthermore, this is your territory. Many of your cultivators pretended to be your old friends and came to join you. However, most of them were swindlers. Chen Shi saw through them and verified their identities. You should know them, right? Shao Qian nodded to indicate that he knew them. Then, he revealed a faint smile on his face. It was good that they came. People tended to reminisce about the past. Furthermore, the Dragon's Gate needed these outstanding talents to join it. Now, the name of the Blue Dragon King, Shao Qian, was already known to everyone in this vast and boundless oceanic world. The stories about Shao Qian spread like wildfire, like he was a living legend. It was not strange for people to pretend to be his old friends and come to Heavenly Star Island. Where's Senior Lan? Why don't I see him? Shao Qian asked, finding it strange as he looked around. Wasn't Senior Lan supposed to personally guard this place? Ha! Even you can discover him. In that case, I'm called the Life-Reaping Azura for nothing. Lan Chaofeng silently appeared beside Shao Qian. It was like he had been there for a long time. Then, he disappeared without a trace. This startled Shao Qian. No wonder even a sovereign martial emperor feared him. If the other party wanted to kill him, he would not even know how he died. Lan Chaofeng smiled as he looked at Shao Qian. That pair of eyes made Shao Qian feel like he could not hide any secrets. Not bad. It looks like the rumors are true. Little friend, your harvest this year is pretty good. Shao Qian asked, Senior already knows about it. Lan Chaofeng nodded and said, News travels very fast in Emperor Wu's circle. You are one of the hottest topics in our circle. Even if I do not leave my residence, I know about your various exploits in the Dragon Grave Sea, the Dark Sea, and the Human Demon Sea. Shao Qian did not find this strange. Emperor Wu was the peak of the entire Kunlun realm. Ordinary people would find it hard to see or hear news about them. However, that did not mean that they did not exist. They paid attention to the entire Kunlun realm at all times. There was no major matter that they did not know about. As the two spoke in riddles, Mo Qian could not make heads or tails of their conversation. However, she could tell that it was good news about Shao Qian, so she did not mind. You are here to check out this Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, right? This mountain tablet is indeed profound. Even someone of my cultivation actually got lost in the illusions. When Lan Chaofeng mentioned the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, he also appeared shocked, unable to understand it. Shao Qian rejoiced in his heart. Senior can use this Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet? I can use it, but it is not very useful. After all, after advancing to Martial Emperor, the cultivation of law energy is no longer of much use. I have already tested it. There is no way to cultivate primordial energy in there. It is more for cultivating law energy and tempering one's combat techniques, Lan Chaofeng explained. This is not bad. If I have time in the future, I can come and experience it properly. After chatting with Lan Chaofeng for a long time, Gong Yangyu and Xianyuan Zhantian woke up one after another. When the two saw Shao Qian, they naturally showed pleasant surprise on their faces. Shao Qian had always been easygoing to his own people, never putting on airs. This made Gong Yangyu and Xianyuan Zhantian feel that they had come to the right place. After saying their goodbyes, Mo Qian led Shao Qian to the top of the mountain. There, he saw you, who was currently teaching a group of youths martial arts. Xiaoqin could not tell that this you was originally a pampered young Mississippi. Now, when she taught a group of children, she was very methodical and had the proper bearing. Her aura had changed greatly. Originally, Xiaoqin had been planning to observe quietly before visiting an old friend. However, the sharp-eyed you discovered him. She immediately dragged him out excitedly, wanting him to teach this group of children on the spot. She even wanted him to take a disciple. Right now, how could Xiaoqin have any intention of taking a disciple? However, he did not know how to deal with Yu's coaxing and pestering. In the end, Mo Chen, who had been watching from the side for a long time, smiled happily and helped Xiaoqin resolve this problem. However, Xiaoqin still promised Yu that after he advanced to martial emperor, he would come and take a disciple. After that, the two went to visit Yu Chenxi, Jin Lin, Lu Ku, and Xiao Xian, the first batch of people who had followed Xiaoqin to Heavenly Star Island of their own volition. When Xiaoqin saw that these people's cultivations all improved at a startling rate, he relaxed. In the end, he did not let them down. Back then, when these people agreed to come, Xiaoqin was most worried that staying on Heavenly Star Island would affect their cultivation in the Haoyan sect. Now, it looked like his worries were unfounded. If they had remained in the Haoyan sect, they would not have improved as much as they did now. Chapter 1257. Unknowingly, the sky had already turned dark. However, Xiaoqin was in high spirits. After being outside for a year, he felt like he had returned home. He could not get enough of the sights. Mo Chen tirelessly led Xiaoqin around, bringing him to the refining pavilion on Black Flame Island. The scene of more than 10,000 blacksmiths of the Mo clan refining treasures at the same time was rather shocking. This sight made Xiaoqin unable to resist himself, so he also joined in to satisfy his cravings. When the sky was about to brighten, Mo Chen brought Xiaoqin to her winery to rest and savor the wine that she personally brewed. When they arrived at the winery, Xiaoqin remembered the matter that he promised the Flame Rock Sovereign, so he took the opportunity to mention it to Mo Chen. Mo Chen smiled gently and said, "This is a small matter. Big brother Xiaoqin, just give me the instructions." At this moment, the sky was turning bright. The rising sun would soon bring boundless light and sweep away the darkness of the entire world. The two drank and chatted, not planning to go anywhere for now. They would watch the sunrise first. The morning sun arrived as scheduled. The sunrise over the sea was something one could never get tired of watching. This was the rising sun that represented a new life. Every time one looked at it, one would feel surging hope, filling one with fighting spirit. Mo Chen elegantly drained the wine in her cup. Then, she said, "Big brother Xiaoqin, there are actually many places in Heaven Dragon City that you have not been to yet. Today, I'll bring you to the merchant district first. The people in charge of those merchant associations all want to meet you." "All right." Xiaoqin happily agreed. Those large merchant associations were the gods of wealth of Heaven Dragon City. There were only benefits to befriending these people. "Miss Mo Chen, there is news from the transportation formation. It says that honored guests will be arriving soon, and they want you to make preparations." Just at this moment, a guard quickly walked over from the pavilion, bringing a letter. Mo Chen took the letter and glanced at it. Then, her expression changed slightly as she handed it to Xiaoqin. "Trouble is here. I'm afraid that we can't continue walking around today." "Why did the three holy masters send people over?" Xiaoqin asked with a slight frown after reading the letter. Actually, the letter said Bushan Palace. However, right now, the Thunder King did not care about Bushan Palace. The three holy masters were in charge. To Xiaoqin, there was no difference between the Bushan Palace and the three holy masters. Mo Chen said slowly, "I have a bad feeling." Xiaoqin put away the letter and thought for a while, "I have a bad feeling." Mo Chen waved her hand and dismissed the person, not wanting to disturb Xiaoqin's thoughts. In name, Heavenly Star Island was still under the jurisdiction of the Martial God Palace. Furthermore, it was different from the sects that joined the Martial God Palace. Dragon, Heave, Chen, Chen, heavenly, heavenly, heave, Chen, was, under, he, dragon, heavenly star island, was somewhat special. Back then, before the people of the three holy masters left, they destroyed many of the buildings on the island, even the transportation formations. However, Xiao Chen's conferred land was rather special. Back then, before the three holy lands people left, they destroyed several buildings on the island, even the transportation formation. Back then, the Bushin Palace did not mention the proportion of the profits from the conferred land. This was because they did not believe that Xiao Qin could develop, and they did not care about this small amount of profit. What else could the Bushin Palace have to send people to assist and protect Xiao Qin? Aside from envy, Xiao Qin could not think of any other reason. Why did the Bushin Palace send people now? Aside from jealousy, Xiao Qin could not think of any other reason. Xiao Qin did not like the people of the three holy masters at all. During the king conferral ceremony, the three holy masters made things difficult for him in secret. When Xiao Qin arrived at the human-demon paradise, the three holy masters even sent people over, openly falling out with him. Mo Qin knew that Xiao Qin did not like this group of people. She suggested softly, how about we turn off the transportation formations to the Bushin Palace and ignore this group of people? All the transportation formations in the Bushin Palace system were connected. However, the transportation formations were like the airports of Xiao Chen's previous life, he could freely choose which routes to turn off. Once the transportation formations were turned off, the people of the Bushin Palace would not be able to teleport over. Xiao Qin said after some thought, there's no need. The people that the other party sent this time are extraordinary. Even if we turn off the transportation formations, we might not be able to delay them for long. Instead, it will give them an excuse to reprimand us. Go and inform all the upper echelon of Heavenly Star Island to come. Give them the grandest reception. Let me see what kind of tricks these lackeys of the three holy lands have up their sleeves. Mo Chen's heart skipped a beat. Even turning off the transportation formations would not stop them. Could it be that the other party sent someone with Emperor Wu as their leader? Emperor Wu could tear space and move extremely fast. From the Kunlun continent to the heavenly starry ocean, he would only need half a day to cross this boundlessly long distance. 1 hour later, Xiao Chen, Lan Xiaobai, and Mo Qin stood together at the transportation formations of Heavenly Star Island. Yu Chenxi and the others stood behind them. All the core members of Heavenly Star Island were present, quietly waiting for the Bushin Palace's envoy to arrive. No one knew when the Bushin Palace's envoy would arrive. Lan Xiaobai took advantage of the free time to discuss the important points of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment with Xiao Qin. Last night, I looked through many ancient texts. There are many grand re-establishment ceremonies in history. There are many etiquettes and ceremonies to take note of. I've organized them roughly. After this matter is over, you can take a look. Xiao Qin smiled and said, I'll leave this matter to you. Once you have the plan, you can make the arrangements yourself. I trust you. Xiao Chen's trust allowed Lan Xiaobai to release his bated breath. He was afraid of outsiders interfering in this matter. Since Xiao Chen was so assured, it would not be difficult to make the arrangements. The ancient re-establishment ceremonies are rather extravagant. I feel that we can omit some unnecessary things. The only thing is paying respects to the ancestors. We cannot be careless about this, Lan Xiaobai continued. Xiao Qin nodded. This was exactly what he wanted. The extravagance was not important. What was important was his responsibility to the ancestors of the Dragon's Gate. As Xiao Qin spoke, the transportation formation flickered with a multicolored light. The two stopped talking, and everyone's expressions turned grave. Everyone knew that this person did not come with good intentions and would not be easy to deal with. The light stopped flickering, and a fiery red azure wand appeared in the center of the transportation formation. The azure wand possessed the bloodline of the vermilion bird, an ancient mutated beast. It represented a noble status and possessed extremely strong control over fire. This azure wand exuded a strong aura. Xiao Chen estimated that even if his 4 deep-sea flood dragons worked together, they would not be a match for this azure wand. There was a total of 5 people on the back of the azure wand. All of them wore the faint golden clothes of the Bushin Palace. Of the 5, one was the most special. The others were all standing, but he sat on the back of the azure wand, resting with his eyes closed. This person did not look old. A picture of the vermilion bird, a divine bird, was embroidered on his collar. He must be an elder of the Phoenix's Passion Palace, a holy land. When Mo Chen saw this person, she felt startled. Xiao Chen was right. Emperor Wu was indeed among the people who came. He had some doubts in his heart. He did not know how Xiao Chen was able to predict this, to be able to guess it. Actually, it was not hard to guess. In the human-demon paradise, Xiao Chen had killed many half-step Emperor Wu by himself. The people of the 3 holy masters' land already understood that without Emperor Wu, they would not be able to suppress Xiao Chen. The azure wand covered in flames spread its wings, and the divine beast bloodline flowing in its body spread out, pressing down on Xiao Chen's side. Whoosh! Under the pressure of this aura, some people on Xiao Chen's side could not stand stably, feeling strained. After all, the azure wand's blood contained a trace of the vermilion bird's bloodline. After this divine beast bloodline was activated, ordinary people would find it hard not to be suppressed. The leader of the people on the azure wand's back revealed a cold smile. It looked like they were doing this on purpose to put on a show of strength to Xiao Chen's group. Qi. Just as Xiao Chen was preparing to deal with this divine might alone, little yellow feather suddenly came out of the immortal spirit ring. The moment the palm-sized little yellow feather came out, it easily neutralized the divine might from the azure wand. After the huge azure wand saw little yellow feather, its flames burned endlessly. It trembled slightly. The Bushin Palace's envoy on the azure wand's back also started shaking. The leader did his best to control the azure wand, but it was useless. Little yellow feather's figure suddenly enlarged. It glared at the azure wand, thoroughly frightening it. A strong wind blew, and the azure wand retreated in horror. It prostrated itself on the ground, trembling. This sudden change happened in an instant. The 4 or 5 people on the azure wand's back were caught off guard, and they were flung off. Aside from the middle-aged man with the vermilion bird embroidered on his collar, the other 4 fell to the ground, covered in dust. Only then did they quickly stand back up. Little yellow feather flapped its belly with one of its wings in the air as it laughed, looking incredibly cute. The group of people from Heavenly Star Island could not help laughing as well. Even Xiao Chen could not help revealing a smile on his face. Is it very funny? Xiao Chen, is this how you treat the Bushin Palace's envoy? Everyone says that you are arrogant and conceited, considering everyone else beneath you. Today, I finally get to see it for myself. The leader of the group suppressed his anger as he walked over to accuse Xiao Chen. The middle-aged Emperor Wu, who was seated cross-legged, seemed to move in slow motion. He opened his eyes in the air and slowly landed on the ground. A formless emperor's might, working together with the leader of the group, swept over silently. The fight unfolded invisibly. The Golden Crow Holy Beast helped Xiao Chen gain a small victory. Then, the other party's Emperor Wu immediately made a move, unleashing his emperor's might. Indeed, those who came did not come with good intentions. How arrogant! Do you know who I am? I am Wang Feng, one of the 10 patrolling elders of the Bushin Palace. That person over there is Elder Xing of the Law Enforcement Hall. He kills the traitors of the Bushin Palace and has the authority to act first and report later. The patrolling elder named Wang Feng showed a sullen expression as he pressed forward. Who gave you the courage to be so rude to us? Are you trying to rebel? A strong aura combined with that Elder Xing's emperor's might made it hard for the group to breathe. Isn't it just a moment of carelessness and falling off the bird's back? Why are you putting on airs, trying to accuse us of such a big crime? Jean Lin had a fiery temper. He simply could not stand the other party's aloof attitude, so he could not help saying this angrily. Wang Feng mocked, where did this trash come from? You don't even know the rules. Do you have the right to speak here? Xiaochen smiled faintly and stretched out his hand to block Jin Lin. Then, he looked at Wang Feng and said, You want to talk to me about the rules? Very well, I will talk to you about the rules. Xiaochen did not discipline his spirit beast well, causing it to be careless and frighten your Azure Wan. I apologize to all of you. Chapter 1258. Wang Feng felt somewhat surprised at how rational Xiaochen was, not angered into doing something rash. Wang Feng felt somewhat surprised. At the same time, he felt dissatisfied. If the other party did not make a mistake, he would not be able to catch him. He said coldly, This beast is frighteningly bold. Do you think it will be fine just because you apologized? Break one of its wings and punish it severely. Xiaochen was being unreasonable. Everyone on Heavenly Star Island was enraged. This was completely unreasonable. If a holy beast broke one of its wings, it would be crippled. Xiaochen's expression did not change. He went along with the other party's words and said, You are right, not wrong at all. However, spirit beasts are mischievous, but that is just their nature. The one at fault is me, the master. Blood spurted out. The one who should be punished should be me. I will receive this saber strike on his behalf. Without giving Wang Feng a chance to react, a short saber appeared in Xiaochen's hand. Pu Ci. Then, he stabbed it into his chest, causing blood to spurt out. Wang Feng was standing rather close to Xiaochen. Blood splattered all over his face. He quickly took 3 steps back, somewhat frightened. How ruthless! Seeing the unchanging expression of Xiaochen, this thought appeared in the hearts of the Bushan Palace's group. They were all shocked. Even Emperor Wu revealed a strange look in his eyes. Patrolling Elder, what do you think of this punishment? Xiaochen asked coldly as he drew the bloody short saber. The blood on Wang Feng's face had not dried yet. As he looked at Xiaochen, horror filled his eyes. When he heard Xiaochen's words, his voice trembled as he said, Yes, yes. This matter is over. Let's go and talk about proper matters. A murderous intent flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. He shouted coldly, Who told you that this matter is over? How is it not over? Wang Feng felt somewhat weak from Xiaochen's gaze. He did not know why, but he felt nervous. Xiaochen continued, What did you just call me? Xiaochen. If I don't call you Xiaochen, what should I call you? Xiaochen smiled coldly and said, Call me Xiaochen. I earned 1,000,000 battle merits and was conferred the title of Blue Dragon King and personally appointed by the Thunder King. Anyone in the Bushan Palace who has not become an emperor is not allowed to call me by my name. Who gave you the guts to call me by my name? Are you doubting the prestige of the Thunder King and disapproving of my identity as the Blue Dragon King? Or do you have ulterior motives and are up to no good? Speak. Xiaochen stepped forward, the killing intent in his words growing thicker. Finally, he shouted, causing Wang Feng to tremble. Wang Feng's heart thumped heavily, and cold sweat covered his back. His face was pale, and he could not say a word. I was wrong, Blue Dragon King. Wang Feng struggled to get up with great difficulty. Before Xiaochen's domineering aura, he was forced to apologize. Do you think a simple apology is enough? That's not what you said earlier. Xiaochen's expression didn't change at all. Wang Feng raised his head and demanded angrily, What do you want? Do you want to chop off one of my arms? Xiaochen retorted coldly, Since you are following the rules and trying to frame me, then I will follow the rules as well. This king can follow the rules and kill you for the crime of great disrespect. Today, I will only chop off one of your arms. You should rejoice. The moment Xiaochen said that, the air seemed to freeze. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen really wanted to chop off one of this envoy's arms. How could that be? Stop! The law enforcement hall's elder Xing immediately shouted. Whoosh! A saber light flashed. Xiaochen ignored this cold shout. He drew the lunar shadow saber and directly chopped off Wang Feng's left arm, whose momentum had fallen to rock bottom. Ah! A miserable shriek rang out. Blood spurted out from the wound on Wang Feng's arm. He had not expected Xiao Chen to be so ruthless and bold, really chopping off one of his arms. Amid the miserable shriek, the group from Bushan Palace was frightened silly. After a while, they reacted and quickly picked up Wang Feng's severed arm. Then, they bandaged the wound. If they treated it in time, it would not be difficult to reattach the arm. However, it would definitely be much less nimble. You actually really attacked. Elder Xing could no longer suppress his rage. An overwhelming killing chi surged towards Xiao Chen. A heavy emperor's might pressed down on Xiao Chen like a mountain. Elder Xing walked towards Xiao Chen step by step. The entire place was tense. Lan Xiaobai and the others all placed their hands on their weapons. They did not have a good impression of the martial god palace. They had come to Heavenly Star Island step by step. These people, who established Heavenly Star Island step by step, did not agree to this. Under the leadership of the three holy masters, the Bushan Palace not only did not provide any help, but they even secretly played tricks on Heavenly Star Island. Without doing anything, Xiao Chen wanted to reap the fruits of his labor. These people, who established Heavenly Star Island, would never agree. As for Xiao Chen, this went without saying. The three holy masters had already shed all pretense of cordiality with him. If not for the fact that the three holy masters' minions still had the skin of Bushan Palace, these people would not have been able to come to his conferred land to flaunt their might. Xiao Chen would not show any mercy and teach them a deep lesson if these people came to his conferred land to flaunt their might. Now, Xiao Chen only broke one of Elder Xing's arms. Seeing Elder Xing walk over step by step, Xiao Chen did not show any fear. He faced him head-on, not showing any fear at all. Xiao Chen did not care about the first Heaven Emperor Wu's insignificant emperor's might. You injured a patrolling elder. According to the rules of Bushan Palace, I can kill you right now, Elder Xing said, enunciating every word. The Law Enforcement Hall was a fearsome department within Bushan Palace. When dealing with rebels, they had the authority to act first and report later. Their methods were cold, and they did things cruelly. They were a great deterrent to the entire human race. This time, the three holy masters sent a law enforcement hall elder over for one of their main purposes. It was to intimidate Xiao Chen, to prevent him from acting rashly. Who knew, not only did Xiao Chen make a move, but he even chopped off one of Wang Feng's arms right in front of this elder. Elder Xing could not tolerate this at all. Since when did someone dare to make a move and injure someone in front of the law enforcement hall? Xiao Chen smiled coldly and said, "Rules. Who was the one who did not follow the rules first? Who was the one who labeled me first? Who was the one who pointed at my nose and said that you broke one of my spirit beast's wings? Are you even qualified to talk to me about rules?" Xiao Chen's words were like knives, drawing blood with every strike, forcing Elder Xing to be unable to find any rebuttal. I am a law enforcement hall elder. I have the authority to act first and report later. I will kill you now, you disgraceful traitor. Elder Xing grew anxious and prepared to make a move, to show Xiao Chen the true rules. Rules were dead, but people were alive. Being stronger than you was the rule. Xiao Chen stepped forward and snorted coldly. Why don't you give it a try and see what kind of place this is? Let's see who kills who in the end. The upper echelon of Heavenly Star Island behind Xiao Chen, Lan Xiaobai and the others, also stepped forward with a flourishing aura, pressing over. Where was this? This was Heavenly Star Island, the Blue Dragon King's conferred land. Everyone was united. Their aura and mentality instantly suppressed this Elder Xing, causing his actions to pause. Even further away, Elder Xing raised his head and accidentally saw a figure standing there silently. However, when Elder Xing looked carefully, he could not find that person. It was like that person had always been there, but it also seemed like he had never appeared. Elder Xing was startled. This time, he was truly startled. Heavenly Star Island was filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The upper echelon of the island were all extremely loyal to Xiao Chen. Their hearts were all united, and they all had the courage and boldness to face death calmly. Elder Xing, never mind. This time, I was the one who did not follow the rules first. You can't blame the Blue Dragon King. Let's talk about proper matters first. Wang Feng, who had just bandaged his wound, saw that the situation was not right, so he admitted defeat. With a cold harumph, Elder Xing walked to the back of the hall. The tense atmosphere relaxed. Mo Chen rushed over and removed the short saber from Xiao Chen's chest in one go, then helped him bandage his wound. Does it hurt? Mo Chen saw Xiao Chen's lips twitch, and she felt some heartache. This person was too ruthless to himself and ruthless to his enemies. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "It's fine. Actually, there is no need to bandage it. The wound will close up on its own in a while." Nonsense. That way, you will die of pain. If I apply some medicine, it will lessen the pain, and you will recover faster. Mo Chen insisted. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, but he could only accept it helplessly. After bandaging Wang Feng's chest, Xiao Chen said, "Jin Lin, lead the way for the envoys to the main hall of the city lord's residence." After saying that, Xiao Chen led a group of people over. Now, only the 5 envoys from Bushin Palace and Jin Lin, who was leading the way, remained around the transportation formation. No one else gave this group of envoys a second glance. No one liked this group of people. Jin Lin glanced at Wang Feng's wound and smiled. "One-armed hero, please. You." When Wang Feng saw Jin Lin's mocking expression, he gritted his teeth hatefully. This person, whom he looked down on earlier, actually dared to mock him now. Jin Lin smiled and said, "Sorry, I have a bad temper. That's just how I speak. If there is anything that is not pleasing to the eye, just keep it to yourself. In any case, one-armed hero, you do not care about me." After saying that, Xiao Chen flung his head back and took the lead, not caring whether this group of people could keep up or not. This is too much of a bully. If this fellow were in the Tianwu domain, this old man would have crippled him in minutes, Wang Feng cursed angrily. Unexpectedly, this minor character that he looked down on earlier was now riding on his head. Elder Xing looked around, seemingly wary of a certain figure. When he heard Wang Feng's words, a trace of impatience flashed in his eyes. "This is Heavenly Star Island. You are flaunting your prowess here. It serves you right to chop off an arm." "Damn!" Wang Feng cursed. From the very start of this mission, everything had gone wrong. The proper matters would be even more difficult to handle. In the main hall of the city lord's residence, Xiao Chen sat in the host's seat in the center. Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai stood on his left and right. On the right were Wang Feng and Elder Xing. It was not convenient for Wang Feng to drink tea with one hand. He only wanted to quickly finish the mission that the 3 holy masters gave him and quickly leave this place. I'll cut to the chase. Blue Dragon King, your conferred land has not signed a contract with the Bushin Palace to hand over the profits. This time, we are here to represent the Bushin Palace to discuss this. After you sign the contract, we will leave. Mo Chen received the contract from the other party and whispered a few words into Xiao Chen's ear. Then, Xiao Chen put down his teacup and smiled. Interesting. You want to take 30% of the profits without doing anything? How shameless are you? Wang Feng no longer had his initial arrogance. He said, the profits can be discussed. Furthermore, we do not need to do anything in the first place. The words Bushin Palace are sufficient. Xiao Chen found this somewhat funny. That's enough. Wang Feng said righteously, of course. With the Bushin Palace behind you, who would dare to touch Heavenly Star Island? Just based on these 3 words, each word can take 10% of the profits. 3 words means 30%. Now, we can negotiate. We only want 10% of the profits for your Heavenly Star Island. Chapter 1259. Xiao Chen burst into laughter. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen such a shameless person. After laughing until his stomach hurt a little, Xiao Chen seemed to agree with this statement. Yes, that makes sense. However, can we use the specialties of Heavenly Star Island to replace this profit? Can we guarantee that the quantity is unique? Wang Feng and Elder Xing exchanged glances. They felt that it was fine as long as they did not return empty-handed. Some of the specialties of Heavenly Star Island were rather valuable in the Kunlun continent. Sure. I wonder what specialty the Blue Dragon King intends to use. Is it Heavenly Star Island's secret treasures, fine wine, or divine ore? Wang Feng asked. Xiao Chen shook his head. None of them. There are more than that. As long as the three holy masters say so, we can have as many as we want. What is it? Xiao Chen's words piqued Wang Feng's interest. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, he condensed 2 clumps of air and tossed them to Wang Feng and Elder Xing. What is this? Is this air? Wang Feng and Elder Xing asked, feeling confused. Xiao Chen said, that's right. That's right. It is the unique air of Heavenly Star Island. I will give you as much as you want. Wang Feng and Elder Xing immediately realized that they had been fooled. They stood up furiously and said, Xiao Chen, what is the meaning of this? Don't push your luck. Xiao Chen said calmly, I don't mean anything because the words Bushin Palace are like air here. Air for air, none of us will lose out. You're going too far. This was the first time that Elder Xing had been toyed with so miserably, and he couldn't hold himself back any longer. Dong dong dong. At this moment, a series of footsteps sounded, and a guard walked in. He cupped his hands and said, Castellan, there's urgent news from the city gate. The 2 young masters of the West Ocean Dragon Palace and the East Ocean Dragon Palace have arrived at the same time and requested to see you. The young masters of the West Ocean Dragon Clan and the East Ocean Dragon Clan came at the same time. The envoy from Bushin Palace was already troublesome enough to come at this time, and now there were 2 more. The Blue Dragon King has an honored guest. Ha ha. In that case, let's put this aside for now. When Wang Feng and Elder Xing heard this, they immediately knew that trouble had come for Xiao Chen. A smile appeared on his face, and he sat down at the same time, preparing to see how Xiao Chen would deal with 2 young masters at the same time. If Xiao Chen couldn't handle it, he could take the opportunity to teach him a lesson and let him know his place. Are the 2 of you not going to leave? Mo Chen, who was beside Xiao Chen, asked. The one-armed Wang Feng smiled and said, it's fine. We already know about the relationship between Heavenly Star Island and the Divine Dragon Palaces of the 4 seas. They are not very harmonious. Recently, their relationship with the West Ocean Dragon Palace was like fire and water. Since we're here, we naturally have to lend a hand and mediate. Elder Xing snorted coldly. Does the Blue Dragon King need you to mediate? Didn't you hear others say that we are heir? Wang Feng slapped his head and said, I forgot about that. In that case, let's watch how the Blue Dragon King teaches the 2 young masters of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace and the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace a lesson, raising the prestige of our Bushin Palace. The 2 echoed each other, clearly intending to watch a good show from the sidelines, waiting for Xiao Chen to make a fool of himself. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with them. He would deal with the situation as it came. He already had enough trouble. He did not mind the 2 young masters of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palaces coming at the same time. Then, he waved his hand and instructed the guard, invite the 2 of them in. The guard hesitated for a while before asking, should we invite their attendants in as well? Xiao Chen felt excited. The reason the guard hesitated to ask this question was probably because the attendants of these 2 were not simple. It's fine. Let them in together. Xiao Chen said decisively after thinking for a while. If these 2 wanted to watch a joke, then let's see who the joke was. Yes. The guard left to carry out the order. At this moment, Wang Feng and Elder Xing were much more relaxed. They drank tea and chatted casually, occasionally glancing at Xiao Chen. They wanted to see some suspicion on Xiao Chen's face. Without a doubt, they could not see anything. I don't believe that he'll be able to hold on forever. Judging from the guard's tone, he's not going to be able to hold on. Based on that guard's tone, the two young masters of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palaces probably brought an expert of the same level as Emperor Wu. Heavenly Star Island has a mysterious Emperor Wu holding down the fort. A regular Emperor Wu would not be able to suppress him. It's fine. At that time, I might as well provoke him. Given his temper, he will definitely not let the person behind the scenes make a move. Furthermore, if he let the person behind the scenes make a move, he would be weaker than the two Divine Dragon Palaces. In front of the two Dragon Palaces, they are inferior. You should know that the Dragon Palace Masters are not here. As long as he dares to make a move, I will personally teach him a lesson. When have I, the bona fide Emperor Wu, ever been fooled by a junior? The two sent voice transmissions, discussing countermeasures. They had to make good use of this opportunity that was presented to them. Not long after, Leng Xiaofan and another young man in a red dragon robe walked into the main hall. An old man followed each of them. Indeed, the two old men were first Heaven Martial Emperors, Emperor Wu. As they walked, they had a majestic gait. Their auras were like mountains, and their gazes were like sabers, deterring others from looking directly at them. The moment the four entered, they discovered Wang Feng and Elder Xing, who were seated at the side. They revealed suspicious expressions in their eyes. Before Xiao Chen could say anything, Wang Feng smiled and said, "The two of you should be the young masters of the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace and the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace. We are the elders of the Law Enforcement Hall and the Inspection Institution of the Bushin Palace. We are just here to drink tea. The few of you can just ignore us. In the eyes of the Blue Dragon King, we are just air." The moment Wang Feng said that, smiles appeared in the eyes of Leng Xiaofan and that youth. They had long heard that the Blue Dragon King did not get along with the three holy masters in charge of the Bushin Palace. It looked like the rumor was true. After the casual greetings, Leng Xiaofan looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Brother Xiao, is my Flood Dragon War Chariot good enough?" Xiao Chen smiled calmly and said, "Many thanks for Brother Leng's gift. There are not many people who can be as generous as Brother Leng. It is passable for me." Leng Xiaofan's face sank as he said angrily, "Don't give me that. If you do not return the war chariot to me today, don't blame me for not giving you face. Even the Thunder King cannot cover for snatching the war chariot of my Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace." The red-clad youth at the side said, "You drained an elder of my Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace until he became an idiot. You have to give us an explanation today. Don't go overboard with some things." What a fellow! Wang Feng and Elder Xing both sucked in a breath of cold air. They had not expected Xiao Chen to be so bold. Not only did he snatch the war chariot of the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master, but he also drained an elder of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace until he became an idiot. Leng Xiaofan and Elder Xing did not stand on ceremony with Xiao Chen at all. This time, they brought Emperor Wu here, intending to forcefully suppress Xiao Chen and make him submit. Perhaps they could force the person behind the scenes to make a move. That way, the palace masters of the Eastern and Western Dragon Palaces would have an excuse to make a move. Wang Feng looked around and took advantage of the situation to say, "Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, don't go overboard. Since you snatched the war chariot, then return it to someone else. Even if you injured someone, you have to apologize. Otherwise, you will not be able to bear the consequences of ruining the reputation of my Bushin Palace." Leng Xiaofan's group felt surprised. Unexpectedly, this person from the Bushin Palace actually spoke up for them. Now, they felt even more confident. Xiao Chen glanced over and smiled coldly. "Since when do I need you to tell me what to do? Who do you think you are? I am the patrolling elder of the Bushin Palace. I have the authority to protect the reputation of the Bushin Palace. What you did ruined the reputation of my Bushin palace, so I have to do something about it. Xiaoqin smiled and said, is it up to you to do something about it? Groveling like you, clearly admitting that you were wrong, is ruining the reputation of my Bushin palace. Are you even fit to be a patrolling elder? I think you are muddled and need to clear your head. Pa! Xiao Chen's figure flashed. His speed was boundlessly fast. Before Wang Feng could react, a five-fingered handprint appeared on his face. You dare to slap me? Wang Feng roared angrily as he rubbed his face. Xiao Chen said coldly, let me see if your skin is made of flesh or not. To think that you are this shameless. To think that you are actually speaking up for an outsider on my heavenly star island. I have long found the people of the three holy masters as lands an eyesore. You delivered yourself to me and even dare to criticize me. Do you really think that I am easy to bully? This slap is aimed at you. You better behave yourself. If you speak out of turn again, I will take your life. Xiao Chen's forcefulness stunned Wang Feng. He rubbed his face for a long time, unable to say anything. When Wang Feng saw the disdainful gaze of Ling Xiaofan's group, his face burned even hotter. The Patrolling Institute was different from the Law Enforcement Hall. It was not a powerless organization. Instead, it was an organization with real authority within the Bushin Palace. The Patrolling Institute had a lot of authority. Normally, it was awe-inspiring and did not need to be particularly strong. However, Wang Feng, who was used to being awe-inspiring in the Bushin Palace, did not expect him to not follow the rules, not caring about the three holy masters at all, daring to humiliate Elder Xing like that. Xiao Chen, don't go overboard. Elder Xing could no longer endure it. No matter what, he had to teach this brat a lesson. Otherwise, he would really become lawless. I'm going overboard. Xiao Chen laughed loudly and stood up. I know what you are thinking now. I also know that you have endured for a long time. I'll give you this chance now. If you can defeat me fair and square, I will return this heavenly star island with both hands. If you lose, scram immediately. Xiao Chen spoke the words in his heart first. Elder Xing felt like something was stuck in his throat, it was extremely unbearable. And you all. Xiao Chen shifted his gaze and looked at Ling Xiaofan and the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master. Since you even brought Emperor Wu over, why the need to speak so much nonsense? Let's settle the matters between cultivators in a duel between cultivators. I will do as you all wish. As Emperor Wu, do you all dare to fight with me, a consummation blue-robed emperor? As long as one of you can defeat me, I will leave immediately. The silent Xiao Chen suddenly erupted, startling the group of people. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Xiao Chen took the initiative to challenge the three Emperor Wu without any provocation. What Xiao Chen said was what these people were thinking. However, for some reason, when Xiao Chen said it himself, the three Emperor Wu felt it was strange. Instead, they did not dare to say anything. Should they agree or not? They fell into a momentary state of anxiety. Lan Xiaobai and Mo Chen exchanged glances. They both saw worry in each other's eyes. Elder Xing, agree to it. This fellow is reckless. Let's fulfill his wish today, Wang Feng said impatiently, his face burning. Wang Feng said in a rush, his face burning. As he looked at Xiao Chen, he gritted his teeth in hatred. Chapter 1260. However, Elder Xing hesitated. Recently, there was a piece of news circulating in Emperor Wu's circle. It was extremely explosive. The Qing Emperor's descendant comprehended the sharp spirit finger, the flame rock sovereign's consummate technique, in 10 days in the Black Sea. Originally, Elder Xing felt that this rumor was too fake. How could someone comprehend the secret of a sovereign martial emperor in 10 days? That was a bit too nonsensical. It was simply unbelievable. However, based on Xiao Chen's current appearance, filled with confidence, could he have really comprehended the sharp spirit finger? If that was the case, it would be problematic. The sharp spirit finger could gather all the energy in the body at one point. With Xiao Chen's current cultivation, this sharp spirit finger would be sufficient to injure them. After all, they were only First Heaven Emperor Wus. Before cultivators who had not advanced to Martial Emperor, even if they were half-step Emperor Wus, they were aloof existences. However, in Emperor Wu's circle, they were at the bottom. Elder Xing, agree to his request. What are you hesitating for? After we win, we will be able to complete our mission perfectly. Seeing that Elder Xing still did not agree, Wang Feng could not help feeling anxious. However, Elder Xing cursed Wang Feng in his heart for being an idiot. Even the two Emperor Wus of the Divine Dragon Palaces are not anxious. Why is this fellow so anxious? He is Emperor Wu. It is natural for him to win. However, if he lost to Xiao Chen, his reputation would be completely ruined. If that happened, his reputation would be completely ruined. From then on, he would become a big joke in the circle of martial emperors. The two Emperor Wus of the Divine Dragon Palaces also thought the same and did not make a decision. They wanted to wait for Elder Xing to speak first. Then, they could see Xiao Chen's strength first before making a decision. This was a foolproof plan. Just like that, they waited for each other. The place became strangely quiet. When faced with Xiao Chen's forceful request for a battle, the three Emperor Wus remained silent at the same time. No one would believe that a mere blue-robed emperor in the Great Perfection Realm could make all three Emperor Wu stay silent out of caution. Xiao Chen laughed out loud. His presumptuous laughter was filled with mockery. No wonder you guys are only Emperor Wu of the First Heaven. With such courage, I guess you guys will never have the courage to go through the thunder tribulation of the Second Heaven. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't want to fight, then scram. I don't have time to waste with you. Send the guests out. The three Emperor Wus were so angry that they were shaking. But the more Xiao Chen acted like this, the more they felt that he was unfathomable. It wasn't that they were afraid of Xiao Chen. They were just afraid of the one-in-a-million possibility of it happening to them. For an Emperor Wu to defeat a Great Perfection blue-robed emperor, the victory was not glorious at all. It was only natural. However, if there was such a one-in-a-million possibility of defeat, then it was over. They would become Xiao Chen's stepping stones, unable to raise their heads for the rest of their lives. Furthermore, along the way, there were simply too many legends about him. When facing such a man, it was hard to choose between a rock and a hard place. When Xiao Chen said to send the guests off, the few Emperor Wu's faces flashed with shame. Send the guests off? Xiao Chen, don't think that you can resolve today's matter so easily. I don't believe that you are so strong that there are no limits. Ling Xiaofan felt aggrieved. He had brought Emperor Wus here to humiliate Xiao Chen and take back his Flood Dragon War Chariot. Who knew that under Xiao Chen's forceful request for a battle, the Emperor Wu he had brought would actually cower? This was unacceptable to Ling Xiaofan. In his impulse, Ling Xiaofan wanted to attack Xiao Chen directly. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's red-clad young palace master roared furiously and charged over together with Ling Xiaofan. Youthful and arrogant, Ling Xiaofan and the red-clad young palace master gave off a sharpness that was much stronger than that of the three older generation Emperor Wus. While the others were fearful and apprehensive, Ling Xiaofan and the red-clad young palace master did not need to worry so much. At worst, they would just lose. Ling Xiaofan just could not stand Xiao Chen's current strong aura. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "You overestimate yourself. Ling Xiaofan, do you still think that I am the white-robed Xiao Chen who came to the heavenly starry ocean 3 years ago? Today, let me tell you that the gap between us is 10,000 times larger than you imagine. Back then, for the sake of the Neptune headscarf, you schemed against me. Today, I will return it to you. Kneel for me." When facing the charging Ling Xiaofan, Xiao Chen could not be bothered to think about the flaws in his opponent's moves. He simply threw a palm strike, directly using force to break technique. Xiao Chen used his strong cultivation and strength to crush all the other party's techniques. When Xiao Chen's palm strike landed, it was like the sky collapsed. Leng Xiaofan felt all the state and aura of his martial technique crumble in that instant. Xiao Chen's palm strike expanded infinitely in Leng Xiaofan's eyes. His heart sank for some reason. Horror spread throughout Leng Xiaofan's entire body. He was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat. He wanted to retreat but found that it was already too late. Pa! Xiao Chen's palm landed on Leng Xiaofan's shoulder, and primordial energy flowed out of his palm. This was a strong energy that Leng Xiaofan had only seen from his seniors. It flowed through his entire body, and he fell to his knees. Purple primordial energy flowed through Leng Xiaofan's body. The strong restriction instantly rendered him immobile, and he could only kneel. Compared to Leng Xiaofan, the red-clad youth's cultivation was weaker. The instant Leng Xiaofan wanted to retreat, Xiaoqin sucked hard and pulled him back. Xiaoqin smacked down with his left hand, and he fell to his knees beside Leng Xiaofan with a plop. The two knelt at nearly the same time. From the moment they attacked to the moment Xiaoqin restrained them, all happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. The two Emperor Wu behind them could not stop them at all. This resulted in Leng Xiaofan and the red-clad youth being humiliated by Xiaoqin for nothing. Young Master! The Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's yellow-clad old man was the first to react. He exclaimed. With a flash, his figure moved so fast that no one could catch him. Soon, he arrived before Xiaoqin. The other person took this opportunity to arrive before Leng Xiaofan and the red-clad youth, wanting to make a move and remove the restriction on them. The other party charged over ferociously. Xiaoqin took a step back. With each step, 3 lightning whirlpools appeared on his chest. You are truly boundlessly arrogant. To think that you dare to attack the young master. Don't blame this old man for disregarding seniority and attacking you. The yellow-clad old man attacked in rage. Everywhere his palm wind passed, it tore apart the air, giving off an intense light. In an instant, the tables and chairs in the main hall shattered, and the entire city lord's residence shook violently. Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai immediately flashed out at the same time. This level of exchange was no longer something they could interfere in. If not for the newly built Heaven Dragon City being a secret treasure in itself, the main hall would have collapsed. Xiaoqin was not startled or angry, he was not anxious or impatient. He prepared the sharp spirit finger and counted in his heart. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, kill. After the sharp spirit finger finished preparing, Xiaoqian's sullen face suddenly surged with killing qi. 9 lightning whirlpools appeared in his chest, giving off thousands of lightning bolts. All the energy gathered on his fingertip. The light in the main hall dimmed. Only the electric light on Xiaoqian's fingertip remained as dazzling as the sun. Pu Ci. Blood spurted out, and the yellow-clad old man went flying. A black hole appeared in his palm, and half his palm disappeared. You really comprehended the sharp spirit finger, the consummate technique of the flame rock sovereign, the yellow-clad old man exclaimed in disbelief as he looked at his palm in a daze. The yellow-clad old man's heart trembled. Fortunately, he had not been careless with his earlier palm strike and used all 100 strands of primordial energy. If he had been careless, his entire arm would have been blown off. The sharp spirit finger allowed the flame rock sovereign's fame to spread far and wide. Even primes did not dare to casually touch this consummate technique. It truly lived up to its reputation. Oh no! There is primordial energy in the 2 young palace masters' bodies. We cannot casually remove the restrictions. On the other side, the black-clothed old man's forehead was also drenched in cold sweat. An anxious look flashed across his eyes. The Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master and the sweating black-clad old man looked at the yellow-clad old man, who was in a daze. Xiaoqin had complete control over the situation. Even Emperor Wu might not be omnipotent against him. To Emperor Wu, who cultivated the golden body, losing half his palm was not a serious injury. Even if his heart was blown up, given a certain amount of time, he would be able to recover. However, the golden body of a first heaven martial emperor had not reached the point where it could recover instantly. His arm was temporarily crippled, and his combat prowess immediately dropped by 30%. When the yellow-clad old man saw the missing palm, he looked at Xiao Chen. Shock and rage flashed in his eyes. There was also a faint fear in his eyes. With the sharp spirit finger, this fellow really had the ability to fight against First Heaven Emperor Wu. Xiao Chen, quickly remove the restrictions on the two young palace masters. If anything happens to the young palace masters, the Eastern Sea Dragon King and the Western Sea Dragon King will absolutely not let you off. The black-clad old man could not remove the restrictions. Sweat covered his forehead as he roared at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "Watch your attitude. So what if I kill these two people? Don't forget that they were the ones who attacked me first. If you shout again, I will cripple these two people." When the black-clad old man heard that, he asked sullenly, "What do I have to do for you to release them?" "It's very simple. Someone, help me write 2 contracts. Young Master Leng, didn't you come to ask for the war chariot? Now, sign here and hand over the war chariot to me. Furthermore, compensate me for the loss of 10,000 essence stones. Didn't this Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master want my Heavenly Star Island to hand over the profits? Now, sign here and guarantee that the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace will never mention this matter again and compensate me with 10,000 essence stones as well." The moment Xiao Chen made his request, the 2 Divine Dragon Palace old men became enraged. 10,000 essence stones? Are you crazy? How can we possibly take that out? 10,000 essence stones equaled all the wealth of First Heaven Emperor Wu. Even if they could take it out, they could not bear to do so. Xiao Chen retorted calmly, "Is that so? You can't bear to take it out, but the Divine Dragon Palace can. After repeatedly coming to my Heaven Dragon City to cause trouble, do you really think that there is no interest at all? You. This is too much of a bully." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Seniors, you are being too serious. This little one is just a consummation blue-robed emperor. How could I dare to bully the aloof Emperor Wu? If you are not willing, then so be it. Someone, send our guest off." Ignoring the 2 old men who were so angry that they trembled, Xiao Chen continued, "The weather is cold, and it is so cold at night. It would not be good for the 2 young palace masters to injure themselves by kneeling like this. Remember to add some blankets for them at night. Agree to it." Ling Xiaofan could not move at all. He glared at Xiao Chen and said through gritted teeth. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master felt very sullen, but he still said the same thing. Ling Xiaofan was not even willing to kneel here for a moment. How could he want to kneel for another night? Absolutely not. Chapter 1261. Aside from feeling sullen, Ling Xiaofan felt even more helpless. Back then, when Xiao Chen first came to the heavenly starry ocean, Ling Xiaofan felt helpless. With just a thought, he could think of a way to deal with Xiao Chen, causing Xiao Chen to not even dare to go to his own fief. Over the past 3 years, Xiao Chen had been improving, and so had he. But now, with a single palm strike, he was forced to kneel in front of Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was a monstrous genius. No one in his generation could compare to him. Ling Xiaofan could not let him become an emperor. This was the only thought in his mind. He absolutely could not let Xiao Chen become an emperor. In the future, the great tribulation of wind and fire would definitely kill him. Right now, he had to endure all the humiliation for now. Whoever had the last laugh would be the real winner. Since the 2 young masters had spoken, the 2 Emperor Wu-level experts of the Dragon Palace had no choice but to take out all their belongings and save them as ransom. Just thinking about it made him feel humiliated. The great Emperor Wu was actually toyed with by a blue-robed emperor in the Great Perfection realm. Xiao Chen received the essence stones with satisfaction. Then, he patted Ling Xiaofan and the red-robed man's shoulders and said, "Take them away. The restrictive spell will be lifted in half an hour. Young man, don't let us seize the opportunity." Today's humiliation will be returned 100-fold in the future. The two old men each carried a person and retreated with lightning speed. They were not willing to stay in this troublesome place any longer. Aside from the people of Heavenly Star Island, only the Bushin Palace's Wang Feng and Elder Xing remained in the main hall. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, "Men, get another set of tables and chairs. I will continue to discuss the matter of handing over the prophets with the envoy from Bushin Palace." "Ha ha ha ha, Blue Dragon King, you must be joking. Let's not talk about prophets anymore. We'll leave now. Sorry for disturbing you." He saw that Xiao Chen was able to force two Emperor Wus to hand over 10,000 origin essence stones. Wang Feng had long since been scared out of his wits. If this continued, he did not know how Xiao Chen would play him. This was not a place for humans. In the future, even if Xiao Chen was beaten to death, he would never come back to Heavenly Star Island again. Wang Feng's footsteps were hurried, clearly flustered. He quickly left this place with Elder Xing. When Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai saw the three Emperor Wu leave, their worried hearts relaxed at the same time. Looking at the white figure, his eyes were filled with admiration. In Kunlun, of the younger generation, who could compete with the Emperor and control the situation with a smile? Only Xiao Chen. The three Emperor Wus arrived unexpectedly at the same time. This startled Lan Xiaobai and Mo Chen. One Emperor Wu was already a headache. What would happen if three came? However, Xiao Chen calmly dealt with them. Not only did the three return empty-handed, but he even managed to extort 20,000 origin essence stones out of Emperor Wu's hands. The result was like a dream. Even now, the two still found it unbelievable. "Xiaobai, pick a date for the news of re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. Do it within a month." Xiao Chen turned around and spoke with a grave expression. He did not show any joy at the results of the battle. Feeling confused, Lan Xiaobai asked, "Why? Didn't you just force the two Dragon Palace's young palace masters to sign a contract, forbidding them from coming to Heavenly Star Island to cause trouble?" Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. "Why do you think I could control the situation, forcing the three of them to return empty-handed and unable to do anything to me?" Lan Xiaobai opened his mouth to answer. However, when the words reached his mouth, he felt that the answer was not right. After thinking hard, he could not think of an accurate answer. "Why?" Mo Chen calmed down and thought for a while. Then, she had an answer in her heart. She looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Because of strength." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "That's right. It is because of strength. Even when facing three Emperor Wu at the same time, I have trump cards and do not fear them. Only in this way can I have the confidence to always be overbearing in terms of aura. The fist is the biggest rule. Contracts and whatnot can be reneged at any time. I just have an excuse. In the future, when facing the Divine Dragon Palace, I can use reason to force them and gain an advantage." Lan Xiaobai suddenly understood. However, he still did not understand. "Then, what does all this have to do with announcing the news of re-establishing the Dragon's Gate in advance?" Xiao Chen sat down on the chair that he had already replaced. Then, he said, "I already exposed my strength, and the other party will definitely not take this lying down. Do you think that with my strength, I can cause any waves before the three Holy Masters and the Divine Dragon Palace? Now that the other party is prepared, it will be hard for me to deal with them the next time they come looking for trouble. We can only announce the news of re-establishing the Dragon's Gate in advance and disrupt their plans so that we can control the rhythm ourselves." Lan Xiaobai was not stupid. After Xiao Chen explained, he immediately understood. "I'll do it right away. Mo Chen, get Elder Qin to come over. I have something to discuss with him." The sense of crisis in Xiao Chen's heart made him unwilling to stop for even a moment. Originally, he had not intended to expose his strength before the Dragon's Gate was re-established. He had strength on par with Emperor Wu. Once it was exposed, some of the tacit understanding between the Thunder King and the other primes would be broken. However, he had no choice today. He had to expose it. Fortunately, the three Emperor Wu had too many misgivings and lost their drive. Shao Chen only exposed the sharp spirit finger. No one knew that he had 100 strands of primordial energy. This was a blessing in disguise. After a while, the Haotian sect's elder Qin arrived at the main hall. Shao Chen went straight to the point, saying, "Elder Qin, I would like to meet the Haotian Emperor." "You should have a way." "The Haotian Emperor, no, now it should be the Haotian Prime, Ingzongtian." The other party had cleared 3 sovereign tribulations in a row, crossing 9 heavens. Like the Thunder King Sang Mu back then, he already possessed the strength of a prime. Shao Chen had never formally met the Thunder King before, nor had he spoken to the Thunder King. He always felt that there was some distance between them. In Shao Chen's heart, the only person he could truly rely on was this Prime Martial Emperor, who he had a heart-to-heart talk with before. Shao Chen needed this senior's permission to re-establish the Dragon's Gate. Otherwise, he would not be confident. After announcing the matter to the world, there would be huge waves and boundless pressure. Elder Qin was not surprised by Shao Chen's sudden question. He smiled and said, "The sect master instructed me long ago that if Heavenly Star Island runs into any unsolvable problems, this old man can shatter this jade strip and get him to make an appearance. However, young Master Shao has never had a chance to use this jade strip. Wouldn't it be a waste to use it now?" "There really is." "Indeed, I guessed right." Shao Chen said respectfully, "I'll have to trouble Elder Qin. Give me the jade strip. It is indeed time to use it. It is good that young Master Shao has decided." Elder Qin flicked his hand and tossed out a jade strip. After Shao Chen caught it, he performed a cupped fist salute and said, "If there is nothing else, this old man will take his leave first." Clearly, Shao Chen had something he wanted to discuss with Ingzongtian alone. So, Elder Qin tactfully left. Without any hesitation, the moment Elder Qin left, Shao Chen directly shattered the jade strip. Ka-cie. The jade strip shattered into countless pieces. Each piece flickered with a crystalline light, looking dreamy and beautiful. Before Shao Chen's curious expression, the countless pieces of light gathered and changed. Finally, they formed an image of Ingzongtian in front of Shao Chen. "Little brother Shao, why are you looking for me?" Ingzongtian asked with a smile, appearing to be in good spirits. Shao Chen said politely, "Big brother Ing, I intend to announce the re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate to the world within 1 month." The moment Shao Chen said that, the smile on Ingzongtian's face immediately vanished. Then, he asked gravely, "Why are you in such a rush?" "In my opinion, you are not a rash person or a maniac with wild ambitions. Is there some other reason?" Shao Chen felt a warmth in his heart. Although Ingzongtian was a senior, he did not seem to have a generation gap with Shao Chen. Shao Chen could easily guess Shao Chen's difficulties. Nodding, Shao Chen explained Heavenly Star Island's current problems. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace was eyeing Heavenly Star Island covetously. Heavenly Star Island was not strong enough to resist them. Shao Chen needed to establish the Dragon's Gate's name and let them know the strength behind Heavenly Star Island. Only then would the other party not dare to make any rash moves, giving Heavenly Star Island space to survive. At the same time, Shao Chen expressed his intentions. He was only here to re-establish the Dragon's Gate out of a sense of responsibility after the death of the Qing Emperor. He did not have any ambitions, nor did he want to rule the world. Shao Chen did not have the time, energy, or interest to do so. As long as he could continue the Dragon's Gate's inheritance and live up to that sense of responsibility in his heart, it would be fine. Ingzongtian had been listening all along, not interrupting. After Shao Chen finished speaking, he said, "I understand what you mean. When the time comes, I will personally make a trip over." As a descendant of the Qing Emperor, re-establishing the Dragon's Gate is a matter of course. There is no need to hide or sneak around. Shao Chen revealed a trace of joy on his face. "Many thanks, big brother. It's fine. There is no need to stand on ceremony. You are a descendant of the Qing Emperor in the first place. Re-establishing the Dragon's Gate is a matter of course. There is no need to sneak around or hide. Since you are open and aboveboard, what is there that cannot be made public? No matter how big the matter is, I will help you shoulder it. The Haotian Prime, Ing Zongtian, did not hesitate to agree to Xiao Chen's request after he finished speaking. With Big Brother's words, even if there is a huge wave, I am confident of shouldering it. Xiao Chen's words were not humble or flattering. What else could give Xiao Chen more confidence than the promise of a prime? Big Brother Ing, can I meet the Thunder King? Xiao Chen made another request after hesitating for a while. Ing Zongtian smiled and said, there is no need. The Thunder King has been watching you. If he wants to meet you, it would be hard for you not to. If he does not want to, no one will be able to see his true body. Remember these words of mine. Although the Thunder Sovereign has rarely interfered to help you along the way, he has always been watching over you. As long as he is around, no one in the entire Kunlun realm will dare to touch you. Whoosh! After Xiao Chen said this, all the motes of light scattered like fireflies. Ing Zongtian's figure vanished. A flame lit up in Xiao Chen's eyes. That was a surging determination. A faction that had disappeared for 10,000 years would be re-established within 1 month. The storm that Xiao Chen brought would definitely affect the entire Kunlun realm. No matter where one was, this news would cause a stir. The enemies in the open would definitely be enraged. The enemies in the dark would not be able to hold back and jump out. Not everyone was happy to see the Dragon's Gate rise. Back then, the Qing Emperor made too many enemies. After the Qing Emperor fell, all the factions that participated in the destruction of the Dragon's Gate would absolutely not let the Dragon's Gate re-establish smoothly. Chapter 1262. Come, then. Let the storm come even more ferociously, Xiao Chen muttered to himself. Unknowingly, he had already been in the Kunlun realm for close to 8 years. Ever since he announced his identity as a descendant of the Qing Emperor, he had been waiting for this moment for far too long. Lan Xiaobai was still helping to choose a date. Xiao Chen could not possibly stop, either. The sense of urgency made him cultivate even more anxiously. 20,000 essence stones were sufficient for Xiao Chen to cultivate for a long time. He did not have to worry about resources at all. Aside from cultivating primordial energy, Xiao Chen spent all his remaining time on comprehending and refining his saber soul. After Mo Chen found out about Xiao Chen's request, she contacted the various large merchant associations in Heaven Dragon City. Adding on the connections of the Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce, she helped Xiao Chen obtain a total of 10 peak-grade Demon Fiend rocks. Even after using so many connections, she managed to obtain only 10 peak-grade Demon Fiend rocks. This showed how rare these things were. According to Mo Chen, as long as they appeared in an auction, people on the level of Emperor Wu would immediately buy them. Furthermore, even sovereign martial emperors would be interested. Being able to obtain 10 peak-grade Demon Fiend rocks for Xiao Chen was already very incredible. Even those holy lands might not be able to do this within a short time. Naturally, 10 peak-grade Demon Fiend rocks was insufficient for Xiao Chen to raise his 70% comprehended saber soul to 100% comprehension and transform it into a saber domain. However, raising it to 80% comprehension would not be a problem. If he was lucky, he could raise it to 90% comprehension. As Xiao Chen sat on the peak that belonged to him, he held a peak-grade Demon Fiend rock in his hand. After taking a deep breath, Xiao Chen started to use his saber soul to touch the Demon Fiend rock, tempering his saber soul. Using the Demon Fiend rock to cultivate was not easy. It would trigger a negative heart demon, which was extraordinarily dangerous. If one was not careful, one's mind would be injured. When Xiao Chen's saber soul touched the Demon Fiend rock, a layer of black demonic qi covered his body. The demonic qi changed, looking like a human demon surrounding him. The scene in front of him suddenly changed. A large amount of abyss demonic energy appeared out of nowhere and attacked Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. Monstrous waves surged in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. Black demons with ever-changing figures appeared in his sea of consciousness. Sometimes, these demons would take on the appearance of Xiao Chen's fiendish appearance. It was extremely strange. What he saw wasn't an illusion, but it wasn't real either. It was hard to tell what was real and what was fake. The true sea of consciousness could be said to be completely calm, without any ripples. However, if left unchecked, these illusory demons would eventually injure the main body. Not only his will, but his soul and mind would also suffer significant damage. In serious cases, their souls might even be devoured by the devil, turning them into a homicidal maniac and completely falling into the path of the devil. Demonic Fiend Rock. Just from its name, one could tell that it was no ordinary natural treasure. Using it to take shortcuts was like dancing on a tightrope. Kill, 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 kill. The demons let out miserable shrieks that sounded like ghosts wailing and wolves howling. The sound waves surged into the air, their auras horrifying. Xiao Chen's heart remained as calm as still water. His gaze turned sharp as he held a saber in his hand. This was the true form of his saber soul. He said coldly, "If my heart does not waver, it is all an illusion. Die." In this surging sea of consciousness, Xiao Chen clashed intensely with the demons. The dangerous scene was no less than a real battle. In fact, it was even crueler. Sometimes, the demons would not only take on Xiao Chen's appearance but also Ao Jiao, Lu Riyue, Mo Chen, and everyone else related to Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen hesitated, thousands of sabers would pierce his heart, inflicting extreme pain and torture. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had to maintain a calm heart amid this frenzied massacre. He could not lose himself in the massacre. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to cultivate a saber soul. After Xiao Chen chopped down all the demons, an illusory seven-colored, glassy saber light appeared in his sea of consciousness. This was the essence of the demon fiend rock after the negative demons were removed. According to the test's performance and the grade of the demon fiend rock, different amounts of essence would appear. This is my first time seeing a seven-colored saber soul essence. Peak grade demon fiend rock is indeed extraordinary. In the past, when Xiao Chen used superior grade demon fiend rocks, silver essence appeared. This time, however, it was a multicolored one. Xiao Chen wondered what level his saber soul would reach after absorbing it all. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and pushed off the ground, flying towards that seven-colored light. As Xiao Chen brandished his saber light, the multicolored essence of the saber soul was absorbed into the saber in his hand. When the saber light was completely absorbed, Xiao Chen's expression changed. When the saber light in his hand was completely absorbed, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. All the illusions vanished. He had already exhausted the demon fiend rock in his hand. Xiao Chen's gaze turned even sharper. It felt like he could pierce through space with a gentle stab, inspiring fear. Xiao Chen anxiously sank his consciousness into his sea of consciousness. He discovered that the illusory small saber beside the lightning talisman had become even more corporeal. 76% comprehension. What an incredible effect. With another demon fiend rock, my saber soul can definitely advance to 80% comprehension. There are also 9 peak grade demon fiend rocks. Who knows, I might be able to advance my saber soul to 90% comprehension and form my own saber domain. Xiao Chen exclaimed joyfully. He had not expected the effects of the peak grade demon fiend rock to be so good. In reality, there was a reason for this. If it were another Emperor Wu using this demon fiend rock, he would not be able to achieve such an effect as Xiao Chen did. Firstly, this was Xiao Chen's first time using the peak grade demon fiend rock. Naturally, the effects would be extraordinary. For any natural treasure, the first use would have the greatest effect. After that, the effects would slowly weaken until there was no effect at all. Secondly, it had to do with Xiao Chen's mental state. His heart was as calm as still water, completely unaffected by the negative emotions. Killing all the demons without sparing a single one would naturally achieve the best effect. If a large number of demons remained and could not be killed, the impurities in the demon fiend rock would not be removed so cleanly. Perhaps not even half of the seven-colored essence would be left. When one's mental state reached Emperor Wu's level, the higher one went, the more one would discover the effects of one's mental state. After tossing aside his thoughts, Xiaoqin took out the second peak-grade demon fiend rock and continued to cultivate. The first time, Xiaoqin had spent half a day to eliminate all the demons. This time, he only needed 4 hours. However, the improvement he obtained shocked him. 79% comprehension. Xiaoqin was still a step away from 80% comprehension. This blow shattered his dreams. Xiaoqin frowned and said, "The effects are weakening very quickly. To think that I can use 10 demon fiend rocks to break through to a saber domain. How naive." If Xiaoqin could advance his saber soul to a saber domain before the ceremony, he would be more confident when facing Emperor Wu's mockery. Even without the cycle banner, he could hold his own against a second heaven Emperor Wu. Xiaoqin sighed somewhat helplessly. Then, he continued to absorb the third peak-grade demon fiend rock. After he finished, his saber soul reached 80% comprehension. However, Xiaoqin did not feel much joy. With this third demon fiend rock, his saber soul had only reached 80% comprehension, not even 81%. If this continued, not to mention 100% comprehension saber soul, even 90% comprehension would be an unattainable goal. An 80% comprehension saber soul cannot create an absolute suppression. Compared to a 70% comprehension saber soul, there is no qualitative difference. Xiaoqin frowned heavily. Then, he took out the remaining 7 peak-grade demon fiend rocks and entered deep thought. What should I do? Within 1 month, I will announce to the world that I am re-establishing the Dragon's Gate and send out invitations. I already exposed the sharp spirit finger as a trump card. If I do not have another trump card, how am I going to suppress those insignificant people? Feeling anxious, Xiaoqin could not think of any solution. The effects of the demon fiend rocks gradually decreased. As Xiaoqin absorbed them over and over again, the effects became weaker. Why do I have to absorb them over and over again? Why not gather them together and absorb all 7 peak-grade demon fiend rocks at the same time? Xiaoqian's eyes lit up. Inspiration flashed in his mind as he came up with such an idea. What are you thinking of doing? Don't mess around. Inside the immortal spirit ring, Ao Jiao saw Xiaoqin line up the 7 demon fiend rocks as if he wanted to refine them at the same time. This startled her. I plan to refine all 7 peak-grade demon fiend rocks at the same time and risk it all. Idiot. To think that you are really planning to do that. Demon fiend rocks are evil items in the first place, not anything good. Refining just one is already fatal. You want to absorb them all at the same time. Are you tired of living? Ao Jiao scolded, don't think that you are the only smart one who thought of this. Some madmen have tried it before. Refining demon fiend rocks at the same time can multiply the effects. However, one can only refine 3 peak-grade demon fiend rocks at the same time. That is the limit. If one exceeds this limit, they will either go crazy, their souls will scatter, or they will become crippled. None of them will have a good ending. Even if one can refine 3 at the same time, that would be a deity race cultivator with extraordinary mental energy. Few people of the other races can do that. Xiaoqian's originally hesitant expression became more resolute when he heard this. Xiaoqin had transmigrated and reincarnated. His mental energy was more than twice that of a regular human's in the first place. Furthermore, he cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, making his mental energy even stronger, already condensing it into magic energy. In terms of mental energy, even the deity race's Emperor Wu did not have many people stronger than Xiaoqin. Of course, in terms of usage of mental energy, Xiaoqin was definitely not as good as the deity race cultivators. Back then, when Emperor Forsaken made a move, he returned without any results. Thinking of this, Xiaoqin felt more confident. Ao Jiao, I never do things rashly. However, this time, I have to take a gamble. The re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate is very important. I do not have the corresponding strength. Just the Haotian Prime alone will not be able to suppress that group of small fries. Pu Ci. Before Ao Jiao could reply, Xiao Chen's 80% comprehended saber soul came out of his forehead with a flash. The instant the 80% comprehended saber soul appeared, all the bladesmen on Heavenly Star Island felt a formless force that made the sabers in their hands tremble. The saber intent that radiated out buzzed endlessly. Fortunately, this moment ended as quickly as it came. When the saber soul came in contact with the 7-peak grade demon fiend rocks, the scattered saber intent immediately vanished. Black fog shrouded the summit, and a sinister wind blew. A horrifying demon moved unpredictably in the black fog. Such a mysterious phenomenon attracted the attention of all the cultivators around the mountain range. What's going on? Why is there such a terrifying demonic chi on the peak where Xiaoqin cultivates? That demon is very horrifying. With just one look, the dark side of my heart surged, unable to suppress my murderous intent. Chapter 1263. Oh no! Could Big Brother Xiaoqin have entered a state of berserking qi deviation? Yu Chenxi, Xianyuan Zhantian, Gong Yangyu, and the others all gathered at the foot of the mountain, all of them speaking anxiously and worriedly. Some people could not resist rushing up the mountain to take a look. Stop right there. No one is to move. The Life Reaper Azura Lan Chaofeng appeared silently. When he saw the dark clouds covering the mountain and the ever-changing demons, his expression suddenly changed. I heard that Lan Chaofeng asked Demo Chen to collect peak-grade demon fiend rocks. Could this little fellow have taken that path? Senior Lan, what's going on? Did Big Brother Xiaoqin enter a state of berserking qi deviation? Lan Chaofeng did not say anything. He formed hand seals and quickly formed hand seals. The primordial energy in his body surged, and a terrifying aura spread out from his body. Then, Lan Chaofeng pointed to the sky, and a vast barrier directly sealed off this place, including the mountain where Xiaoqin cultivated. Even Lan Chaofeng found it somewhat taxing to seal off such a large place. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and said calmly, "Keep today's matter a secret. Xiaoqin cannot be disturbed by anyone right now. If anything goes wrong, this little fellow will be completely destroyed. The few of you, scatter to the periphery. If you discover anyone suspicious and do not heed the first warning, you can directly make a move. I will personally guard this mountain." Yes. Lan Chaofeng had never seen Lan Chaofeng so anxious before. After hearing his orders, Yu Chenxi and the others did not say anything else. They scattered to guard the periphery. As for Lan Chaofeng himself, he personally remained at the foot of the mountain to guard Xiaoqin. As Lan Chaofeng looked at the terrifying black demonic qi on the mountain, he said with lingering fear, "This little fellow. That is a taboo that even I do not dare to touch." Just how many peak-grade demon fiend rocks did he absorb? 3, or did he surpass the taboo and refine 4? If Lan Chaofeng knew that Xiaoqin refined 7 in one go, he would disregard everything to stop Xiaoqin. In the chaotic sea of consciousness, demons and monsters danced wildly and a boundless baleful aura surged continuously. The moment the phenomenon first appeared, the surging murderous aura instantly caused Xiaoqin's heart to waver. Slaughter, hatred, pain, jealousy, and various other negative emotions assaulted him, causing him to be unable to endure it and almost collapse. So painful, so painful. Amid the chaos, Xiaoqin could not even form a saber soul. He held his head with both hands and knelt on the ground. The expression on his face changed unpredictably, showing pain and conflict. In his eyes, the world was completely distorted. Those demons that were born from negative emotions. In his heart, it was distorted and exaggerated beyond recognition. The entire world was a blur, and he couldn't see anything clearly at all. Refining 7 top-grade devil fiend rocks at the same time would multiply the effects, but the danger would also multiply. As soon as he appeared, he gave Xiaoqin a show of strength. If he didn't wake up, his entire soul would be occupied by negative emotions, and he would become a devil who would kill without blinking an eye. Throughout history, there had been many outstanding talents and ambitious overlords who fell to demon fiend rocks. This was not strange at all. Shortcuts were not that easy to take. The torture continued, and the pain intensified. Xiao Chen's mind turned chaotic as he howled in pain. Piercing auditory hallucinations appeared in Xiao Chen's ears. Horrifying mysterious phenomena appeared before him, and despair filled his heart. Gaga gaga. You are just an arrogant maniac. Do you think that you are very incredible? If not for the Thunder Sovereign standing behind you, who knows how many times you would have been killed already? You are just a bastard. Serves you right to be chased out of your clan. Your blood is cold, and your heart is ice. Serves you right to be rejected by others. Serves you right to die before advancing to martial emperor in 5 years. Piercing auditory hallucinations rang out in Xiao Chen's ears. Even when he covered his ears, he could not block out this sound. Endless illusions appeared before Xiao Chen. The most horrifying one was when he underwent his great tribulation of wind and fire, burning to death on the emperor's road, dying while he was just 1 step away from the emperor's door. When Xiao Chen saw it with his own eyes, it was like experiencing it for himself. It felt incredibly real. Everyone in the world started mocking Xiao Chen. Indeed, he was a short-lived person. Meteor, oh, meteor. Whoever laughs last is the true hero. These people included the Zodiac Hall's young master, Di Wuk, the Ghost Monarch's personal disciple, and the Xingtian's followers. There were also the people that Xiao Chen once trampled on, all of them laughing wantonly. The laughter was piercing, overlapping with the auditory hallucinations. It was so painful that one wished for death, on the verge of collapse. A voice of despair rang out in Xiao Chen's heart. Just give up. Living is too tiring. Who is as bitter as you, becoming Emperor Wu and getting attacked by half of the primes in the world? Who is like you? Driven by the responsibility in your heart, wanting to restore the sect of your ancestors. However, you have to hide and sneak around. You live in fear, fearing that if you take a wrong step, you will be consigned to eternal damnation. You even implicate your friends and family. Who is as lonely as you? You clearly have someone you love, but you do not dare to bring her to your side, fearing that someone will harm you and make an irreparable mistake. Who can understand your helplessness? You are clearly just walking your own path, yet you suffer from all sorts of people, clowns, insulting and mocking you endlessly, whether openly or in the dark. Blue Dragon King, looking at the world, who is as bitter as you? Who is as lonely as you? Who is as bitter as you? Who is as lonely as you? Give up. Give up. You have to hate. You have to hate that bastard Qing Emperor for leaving behind a huge mess for an innocent person like you to bear. You have to hate. You have to hate that hypocrite Thunder King. You are clearly being hunted down, yet he watches from the back and does not make a move. You have to hate. You have to hate those insignificant people. Who gave them the authority to wantonly insult? No matter whether you are right or wrong, they will curse you and curse you to hell, waiting for you to be consigned to eternal damnation, watching you make a joke of yourself. Xiao Chen's eyes turned hazy, appearing somewhat crazed and somewhat cold. He muttered, "Right, I have to hate. I have to hate. I have to hate that heaven is unfair to me. The Qing Emperor caused my emperor's path to be filled with suffering. The Thunder King is putting on an act for my own good. There are so many insignificant people, gossiping about me." At the foot of the mountain, Lan Chaofeng's expression suddenly turned wild. His barrier shook continuously, and a surging demonic flame and baleful aura soared into the sky. What's going on? How many peak-grade demon fiend rocks did he refine at the same time? Lan Chaofeng stood up with a grave expression. A horrified expression flashed in his eyes. In his sea of consciousness, Xiao Chen, who was on the verge of falling into depravity, felt significantly less pain. If you want to kill and cannot find the Qing Emperor, then kill all the descendants of the Qing Emperor. Those Xiao clan members in the Sky Dome realm all have the bloodline of the Qing Emperor. They all deserve to die. If you want to kill the Thunder King, that hypocrite. That old fellow is immortal for 10,000 years and should have died long ago. If you want to kill kill all the dancing clowns and insignificant people. Do not leave a single one alive. The voice in Xiao Chen's heart rang out again. His eyes turned scarlet, and a strong killing intent surged from his entire body. That's right. I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to kill. Kill. The voice in Lan Chaofeng's sea of consciousness shouted. In reality, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. A scarlet light flashed in his eyes as he roared, "Kill!" Rumble. Immediately, the originally shaky barrier crumbled. Boundless demonic chi formed a black pillar of light from the summit and soared into the sky, tearing through the clouds. Lan Chaofeng took a step back and muttered, "It's over. I can't hide even if I wanted to now." What's going on? Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai rushed over and asked with horror on their faces, not understanding what happened. Lan Chaofeng waved his hand and said with a grave expression, "Don't ask anything. Spread out and don't let anyone near. You will not be able to block people on the level of Emperor Wu. Let them in. I'll guard them." Right now, Xiao Chen is at the most crucial moment. He cannot allow anyone to disturb him. He already has half a foot in the deep abyss, entering the demonic Tao. Ah! Stepping into the deep abyss, entering the demonic Tao. These words frightened Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai into paling, and they could not help crying out. How can it be like this? How can it be like this? Mo Chen muttered, somewhat at a loss. Lan Chaofeng sighed, this fellow probably pushed himself too hard, wanting to have another trump card on the day of the ceremony. Never mind, this is not the time to speak nonsense. Quickly organize the people. Don't let ordinary people pass through. If he really kills someone, he will never be able to turn back. Mo Chen and Lan Xiaobai could hear the urgency in Lan Chaofeng's words. They did not dare to linger, immediately leaving to carry out the order. As Xiao Chen's conferred land, Heaven Dragon City had risen very quickly recently. It would be impossible to say that there were no experts of hostile factions hiding in the city. This was an extremely normal thing. The various large factions were very intertwined with each other. They all infiltrated each other. The Holy Lands were no exception. Normally, Mo Chen and the others would not care. After all, the other party did not do anything. They could not possibly chase him out just because he was strong. However, at this crucial moment, this was what they feared the most. As long as the other party caused trouble and entered the demonic Tao, it would be over. At the same time, a voice rang out in Xiao Chen's heart again, where the demonic flame gathered. You want to become a demon. Only by becoming a demon can you be free. Only by becoming a demon can you be omnipotent, fearless, able to kill whoever you want. Fall into the darkness and become a demon. The voice in Xiao Chen's heart gave off a boundless temptation. I want to hate, I want to kill, I want to become a demon. The sun hung high in the sky, illuminating the world and making it bright. Heavenly Star Island was as calm as usual. However, it was accompanied by the heart-wrenching word, kill. At the peak that belonged to Xiao Chen to the northwest of Heaven Dragon City, an overwhelming demonic light soared into the sky. In an instant, the sky darkened, as if it was night, pitch black. Only that black demonic light was piercingly bright and eye-catching. Immediately, the entire city turned flustered, not knowing what to do. The dark clouds made everyone flustered and tremble. What's going on? Is a great demon about to appear? What a horrifying demonic flame. I have only seen such a scene in the Black Sea. A greater heavenly emperor Wu fell into the demonic Tao and killed half the people of the sea region. Finally, the 13 great bandits had to work together to kill that person. However, isn't that the peak of the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen? How can there be such a horrifying demonic flame? Could it be that the Blue Dragon King entered berserking chi deviation?